It's been calm this afternoon, but we know that snow is coming, and we know that a lot of people are working from home. We know that a lot of schools have canceled, and so it is fairly quiet out there across the metro. Thank you so much for joining us here at 4 o'clock for this special hour of winter storm coverage. I'm Kelsey Carlson.
And I'm Randy Meyer. We're starting our Fox 9 coverage early to help keep you ahead of that storm. We have live team coverage across the Twin Cities all night long tonight. So we want to get started.
Yeah, of course, we want to start with our weather team and Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard, who's been tracking this storm. And you have the latest on the timing of how this will all play out.
Yeah, what's important, if you're paying attention on social media, some people are like, we're talking a storm and there's nothing happening. Look, I'll get to that in a minute. Here is storm vision, and these are the things that I need you to look at and say, that's where I am, that's my county. I also know that with a storm like this, when flights are canceled and school is canceled and people aren't going to the office, that there's an awful lot of storm anxiety. So I'm going to march you through this here over the next hour. The purple that includes the metro, a winter storm warning, and notice the red, that's a blizzard warning. Now, the blizzard warning doesn't talk about more snow or heavier snow. It is more about reduced visibility with strong winds blowing and drifting snow. So over the last 6 hours, and there are people saying, everyone's talking about the snow and we don't see it. If you're here in parts of Wright County, Stearns County, Sherburne County, Mille Lacs County, and areas to the north, you haven't seen the snow yet. But if you are down to the south, we have these bands of very heavy snow coming through right now. That's what it looks like in St. Paul. So let's talk a little bit about this. Bands of snow and strong winds starting now, rolling across the region overnight. Commute buster snow Thursday morning with the winter storm and blizzard warnings in place until tomorrow afternoon. Now, you pick everything up, a quick timeline for you. Round 2 intensifies a couple of inches tonight, 4 to 6 overnight, and into tomorrow morning the snow finally tapers, but the winds stay strong. I want to send things back to Randy and Kelsey. Look, any way you look at it, this is a storm that is here and it is going to intensify. So hunker down. We've got you covered, and we'll give you the information you need to make some plans for the day tomorrow. Call it what it is, a disruptive storm. Any of your regular daily activities, they are going to be disrupted tomorrow.
Well, they are. Let's check in with some of our communities out there. How are they handling the second phase of the winter storm?
Well, for the most part, it seems that Minnesotans are well prepared with winter gear in hand and being careful out there. We're working to get as much information to our viewers as possible as this system moves through into tomorrow.
Let's get started with our Karen Scullin live in Waconia tonight. Karen?
Yeah, well, we are in the blizzard right here. Waconia's in the blizzard warning. It started about 3 o'clock, and I can tell you it was almost right on the top, at the top of 3 o'clock, that things started really picking up and whipping up like crazy. Basically, it means instead of just a little bit windy now and then, it's this consistent wind with even higher gusts at times. You can see I'm on the snowbank here, the top layer kind of blowing off, just a light blow, and blowing back onto the roads and the driveways. Everything we pretty much shoveled from last night. That 3 or 4 inches we got overnight. Definitely there is a coating now back on the roads from the blowing snow. You can see in the front yard here, same thing, kind of skimming that front yard, blowing it back onto the road there. Up the hill there, that is downtown Waconia. And actually there are still people out. So it's not like everybody's inside. There's not a lot of people, but things are still open. I know a lot of people have adjusted their hours, whether it be restaurants or grocery stores. I saw Macintoons here closing at 6 o'clock today. So definitely some adjustments, and I think people are probably going to stay in for the night for the most part anyway. If we spin back around here, you can see the flags whipping sideways there. That is Lake Waconia there. And yes, there are some ice houses out there. We have not seen one angler today. Nobody's, I don't think, ice fishing today. And in fact, the bait shop said closed due to weather. So that pretty much sums it up for you. Again, the snow kind of hitting your face, kind of like little pin pricklies all over your face for the most part, and definitely getting colder fast. Right now, we're going to send it to my colleague Paul Bloom for more on this. Paul?
Hey, Karen, good afternoon to you, coming to you from the Minneapolis Sculpture Garden. I thought we might have the park to ourselves today, but there are a couple intrepid tourists taking some photos behind me, dog walking. I have these fantasies of summertime with the family walking through the park. Let's just say we're a little bit far away, a little bit removed from those nice summer days outside here at the Sculpture Garden. It is whipping wind here as I stare towards the camera, and here it comes. You see that snow kind of flying almost sideways. So snow, you mentioned some parts of our viewing area aren't seeing the snow. I can tell you with 100% confirmation it is coming down awfully hard here in the city of Minneapolis. Now, to that point, the city has declared a snow emergency starting tonight, 9 p.m. No surprise there. Certainly officials had suggested that would happen. We were up with a north side plow crew on a city grader. That thing is a beast to plow, but you can see it having to go around the cars that are parked along the side of the road. That's why they want cars out of there just as soon as possible. They want to clear as many lanes as wide as possible. Whether you're behind the wheel of a plow today or pulling on your own snowblower, we've got our hands full from Mother Nature.
We were happy to see that the snow totals, and the forecasted snow totals are a little bit less. Still a significant snow event, 13 to 18 inch range, but hearing that it's not in that 24 inch range anymore was exciting to us. It doesn't change our operations a lot, but less snow is good.
Less snow is good. Certainly talking about what came in last night into today. Obviously, we're expecting bigger totals into tonight, into tomorrow. We'll have all those numbers for you throughout this newscast. One other thing I know you saw in that video there, Hennepin Health, healthcare clinics, they shut down early today, closed at 3 p.m. They're not expected to open up again until noon tomorrow. That's the look here in Minneapolis. Now let's head across the river. My colleague Rob Olson in St. Paul, outside or perhaps inside the XL Energy Center.
Paul, yeah, we are outside as the snow continues to intensify here. It wouldn't be state hockey at any tournament time, I guess, without a big snow event. And here we go. Usually we get it a few weeks later than this, but who knows? It could happen again. But now it's girls high school hockey at the XL Energy Center starting today. And yes, the games go on, albeit with some troubles for fans to get here. Snow started falling outside the X around 1 o'clock today. 8 teams in action today starting this morning. All 8 teams were in town yesterday for the single A brackets here for girls hockey, including a team from Laverne. Now, they couldn't get here today if they wanted to because I-90's already shut down. In fact, their pep bus and pep band couldn't make it here today. The AA teams start action tomorrow. A lot of those teams are in town already, as are some of their fans. Ran into a couple of grandparents who came here from North Dakota to watch their granddaughter play for Moorhead. That game isn't until tomorrow night, but they knew that they had to get here today if they wanted to get here at all.
We left at 7 o'clock this morning thinking that will be a window to leave and get here before the storm hits.
And you did?
Yep.
And we
Yep.
What do you think now?
I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're here and anxious to see our granddaughter play for the Moorhead Spuds.
Well, you got to wait till tomorrow night?
We'll do that.
Yep.
We'll do
Yep.
that. We'll wait.
They will wait. And again, talking to them and talk to the wife of the Laverne girls coach, you said, they're staying. A lot of them were planning to stay through the weekend anyway, hoping obviously to advance. Laverne lost. They have a consolation game tomorrow at Tria, but planning to stay anyway. Hockey parents, why not hang out in a hotel for a few days and have some fun? But again, knowing that travel, especially tonight and tomorrow and then into Friday, could be obviously very, very difficult. In some cases, again, getting to and from Laverne right now is not even possible. So, again, it'll be an interesting weekend here. A lot of other games this weekend is boys hockey and then swimming and diving have sectional games as well. And some of those are already getting rescheduled. Of course, they got a timeline to get those in, but some of those games are impacted as well as we head through the weekend. Kelsey, Randy, back to you.
All right, thanks, Rob. No traveling to Laverne right now.
Nope,
okay?
You won't get to Laverne if you're trying.
Stay put.
For whatever reason.
We are following traffic very carefully. We're following some developing news right there on the roads tonight.
Let's head out to Amy Hockert at the Fox 9 Live Center for the latest on those roads. Amy, what do you have?
Yeah, hi, Randy and Kelsey. We are keeping an eye on the roads. Of course, that is one of the bigger stories today. The good news is it seems like most people are heeding the warnings and they are staying put. Roads have been pretty empty as we've been watching them now for about the last 2 to 3 3 hours as those flakes started to fall. We want to take you down, though, to one spot where we're seeing some trouble. This is down in the Faribault area, and we want to show you, let's see, 35 northbound. And I think, Amber, there was something going on here, if I remember right, or maybe it's just that the roads are starting to get really covered here, drifting snow, and we're starting to see that. I want to show you the MnDOT map right now. This is real time, and we'll pull it up. I'm going to take you down. First of all, you can see sort of that I-94 line where it cuts. Everything above I-94 right now is in the green. You're good to go. Below 94 is where it starts to get a little more dicey. So as you take a look at those lines, the blue is going to show you partially covered roads. The pink is completely covered. And then the purple is where we have no travel advised. And then you see down in the southwest corner, the extreme southwest corner down there by Worthington and in the Marshall area, those are the areas where Laverne, as you just mentioned, where you're not going to be able to travel at all. Those are closed. So as we move closer to, let's take you down to that Faribault area, Owatonna, you're starting to see the roads there turn from blue to pink. So we're going from partially covered to fully covered, and that's where we're starting to see some of the issues. Let's take you up to the metro now and show you what we've been looking at here over the course of the last couple of hours, which has been about a dozen or so incidents and starting to accumulate here probably within the last 30 minutes or so. But if we zoom in on any one of those, Amber, you can pull it up and see that the roads partially covered because of that blue, but we are starting to see reports of spinouts and crashes. So about a dozen here in the metro. But as I've been watching this over the course of the last couple of hours, slowly we've seen more and more pop up. So we know that the conditions are deteriorating there on the roads. We've got crews out there. We're going to bring you those live reports as we get them in. But right now, I guess the message here in the metro is it is deteriorating pretty quickly. So we want to make sure and make sure people know to stay home. We know folks do have to be out in some cases. Just take your time and be very careful. And then you did see those outlying areas out in greater Minnesota where it's closed or the roads are fully covered, and you're going to want to avoid those areas because the visibility there is very low as well. So we'll send it back to you guys. We're going to keep an eye on everything right here, and you come back out to me if I've got something to share with you. Okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Amy. So come here at 4 o'clock. We are talking with the interim director of Minnesota's Homeland Security Emergency Management.
But first, snowblowers got to work out this morning. Our Fox 9 photographers sending in GoPro video of all of their work at their homes. And yeah, it was a rough start to the morning. Not too bad, though. We'll be right back with the latest on what we'll see for the rest of the day. And welcome back to our special Fox 9 News coverage of this storm. Right now, we're going back outside to see what it looks like as we wait for the heavy snowfall.
Jennifer McDermott's outside. The meteorologist Jennifer is out there. I noticed just before I come out here at 4 o'clock, the wind had picked up, Jennifer.
It absolutely has picked up. I can confirm that right now, standing outside, the snow is falling sideways. And this has been really a big part of our forecast, is not just how much snow we are expecting, but the winds picking up today, creating the blizzard-like conditions as we move forward further into tonight and into tomorrow. So not only are we expecting quite a bit of snow, Ian, but the winds are going to be reducing visibility and creating some drifting snow.
Thanks, Jennifer. You know, it's important to realize that Jennifer and I, we played Rochambeau to see who goes outside, and I'm a former playground Rochambeau champion.
Obvious.
Always go paper. Always go paper. Thanks, Jennifer. It's one of those days that you're thinking, my gosh, to be outside. It is going to intensify over the next few hours. I want to start with the big picture because I've said this for the last couple of days. I realize there's a lot of anxiety when it comes to storms like this that cancel schools, that send you home from the office, that make you drive almost white knuckle on roads you drive almost every day. Big picture view, and I want you to look at this almost like it is one T. The bottom of the T is the pipeline of moisture coming uninterrupted right out of the Gulf of Mexico. The top of the T is that moisture slamming into some very cold Arctic air that has started to work its way down out of the north. Embedded in this flow out of the Gulf, a tornado watch in parts of Missouri, soon to work into the Ohio River Valley. But that's the T. We're on the northern side, and now I add the colors. You're like, oh, I see now. All of these colors are winter storm related. Purple are winter storm warnings, blue winter weather advisories, and red blizzard warnings. Interesting to note, once the snow started, we started to talk more and more about the wind. That's a big factor overnight. The difference between a winter storm warning and a blizzard warning is less about snowfall, but more about blowing, drifting snow and reduced visibility over time. The blizzard warning works here just into the west-southwest metro, both in place through the overnight. And the bands of snow have started to arrive, and it will work in banded sections. Heavy snow, large snowflakes, then a little bit of a setback, small ice crystals, then big snow. See where it's white? Bright white right here. Those are the biggest flakes, and people up here in St. Michael all the way to Stearns County and St. Cloud are going, snow? What snow? Patience, my friends, it's coming. There's a live look outside. St. Paul not looking very saintly right now. Reduced visibility down to a half mile at this point. Bands of snow and strong winds. Yep, we've got them again. There it is, the winter storm warning and the blizzard warning. Here we go through the overnight. Now, this doesn't take into effect the snow that already fell. Officially, just over 4 inches at the airport. As we get through tonight, you have this big band of, say, 3 to 5, almost 6. And then through tomorrow afternoon, a few pockets of 12. But this is additional to that 4 that already fell. I think you'll get the idea here. As we work through the overnight and into the day tomorrow, this is all about commute busting snow. There it is once again as it falls through the overnight. I can't stress this enough. For anybody who's saying, well, we're not getting those big numbers everybody talked about on Sunday. We didn't talk about those big numbers. We kept saying, look, it's a foot plus. That's exactly where we're going to be overnight and into the day tomorrow. Commute busting, yes. The snow tapers tomorrow. Then it's all about blowing snow. Then cold, real tough for the road chemicals to work when we're sub-zero Friday. But as we work through the weekend, we're talking high temperatures above freezing, and this will be a thing of the past. So Randy and Kelsey, it's started. It's round 2, and it's, it's here. We'll get
it's
through
coming.
it.
You bet.
All right, thanks, Ian. We'll be back with you in just a moment. We have watched the last few days as people have been planning ahead, watching the forecast, and the cities have put their plans into place. The National Guard is mobilized too, and state emergency officials are urging people to stay off the roads until this snow subsides.
We're joined now by Interim Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Kevin Reed. Kevin, first of all, thanks for joining us. What is Homeland Security's role in dangerous weather conditions like we're seeing the last couple days?
Yeah, good afternoon. Our role is really to provide preparedness information both to the citizens and the counties and tribal nations within Minnesota. Try to give them as much information as they can, and then work with them on what potential resources or needs they may have throughout the storm.
And you were part of that big news conference yesterday to educate Minnesotans, to help people, just start to get prepared and to plan ahead. So one wave is down, and we have the second wave to go tonight. What is your messaging from a state and national level here right now as we prepare for the overnight hours?
First of all, I want to thank everybody that heeded some of the warnings that said, hey, if you don't have to go somewhere, please don't. I think that's made a big difference in this. And the second is, as Ian said, we're in a lull right now. Don't get too overconfident and then get stuck in what's going to come later. So if you have to go out, or if you're coming back from work because you had to go to work, just be prepared, take it slow, and let somebody know where you're traveling. It's always good to let someone know so that they can expect you at a certain time. And if you don't show up, they can try to help the responders locate if something happens. But have your equipment in your car if you need it, and just go slow and be aware of the conditions.
We will heed that advice, Kevin. Thank you. Kevin Reed, Interim Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Thanks for joining us this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, well, another weather wave. Second one is on its way. Some parts are hitting already, coast to coast, in fact. People are watching this all over the country.
I know. If you had to fly into Minnesota for a conference or something like that, you're watching to see what's happening at the airport, too. Still ahead, we check in with Fox Weather's Max Gordon live in Minneapolis tonight. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
It is starting to get nasty out there. This is the skyline of Minneapolis. The winds picked up about an hour and a half ago. The snow started falling. This is phase 2 of a high-impact multi-day storm. And Ian has totals. I'll give you those in just a few minutes. But this is the beginning of what's going to take place over the next few hours. And there's national interest in this major storm as well.
Yeah, Fox Weather's Max Gordon joining us from downtown Minneapolis tonight. So, Max, welcome to town. What have you been seeing as you've been out and about?
Well, what I've really noticed has been how many people are out and about. We've been seeing joggers, runners, dog walkers today, just really sort of enjoying the lull in the storm and really just getting about in these low temperatures. It always strikes me how hardy folks here in Minnesota and in Minneapolis are. And, now we're starting to see this second wave move through. This is kind of what conditions are looking like downtown. The streets aren't looking too bad. You Minnesotans, you know how to drive in the snow. But, of course, the message from officials is if you can stay home, really do that. Don't get out and about, especially with those no travel advisories. But you mentioned the national interest. Well, of course, I'm here with Fox Weather, but the hotel that we're staying at has a bunch of news crews in it as well. So we have this setup. It's not ours. We've got something very less extensive. It's just me and my photographer, Lloyd, and we're with a microphone and a camera, and we're out here in the snow. But we've seen news crews all around town, and it is pretty interesting to see the national media descend on a place, and especially if it's a place you call home, it's kind of a weird feeling. Of course, MSP, Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, experiencing a whole lot of flight delays. Yesterday, we got in just a little bit under the wire just before all the snow moved in. But we'll see if we can get out. So fingers crossed we can eventually. Guys,
all right,
back
well,
to
if you get stuck here, come on over here to the studios. We'll have some pizza before you guys leave town, okay?
We have snacks today, Matt.
Snacks. I love that. Sounds good.
All right, tell Lloyd to be careful, too.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys. Well, because Minnesota Governor Tim Walz declared a peacetime emergency, the National Guard has been mobilized to respond to emergencies. And we're going to talk with the National Guard coming up next.
Plus, we check back in with the Fox 9 weather team. Ian Leonard heading that one. Winter storm coverage continues right here at 4 o'clock. Straight ahead.
All right, welcome back to our special coverage of this winter storm. We're going to take a look outside. Quiet roads out there tonight. A lot of people have already just gotten their groceries.
Wisely.
They're home from work and school, and they're just staying inside tonight. This is 35 northbound in Northfield, and it is a quiet 4:30 in the evening, and that's what the roads look like right now.
It's wild.
It's almost like our weather team, Fox 9 weather team, has been preparing for this for a couple days, warning people.
Yeah.
And look at what's happened. Right?
I think we did good. I think we did great. And you know, school's closed today. We had that lull. And I said last night, when we get into the lull, people are going to be like, wait a minute, the storm ended early. And
I've heard that from a few people today, yes.
Right? I mean, what happened to the storm? I said, look, mid-morning to mid-afternoon, the storm is gone. And then it comes back with a vengeance and intensifies, and that's where we are right now. Here's what we're dealing with. Winter storm warning in purple, blizzard warning in red. That blizzard warning works right up into the west-southwest metro. Most important here is the blizzard warning isn't talking about more snow. It's winds interacting with the snow, blowing, drifting snow, and heavily reduced visibilities. Now, the last 6 hours as these bands of heavy snow, large snow flakes, continue to work off to the north. Finally, areas of the North Metro on Twitter are saying, oh yeah, okay, fine, we finally see the snow now. They were complaining about an hour ago. So bands of snow and strong winds through the overnight. This will be a commute buster for your Thursday morning, and then a winter storm and blizzard warning. That's the cacophony that we all deal with. Officially, we had 4.4 inches into this morning. You're going to start to want to total these numbers up in your head. Round 2 intensifying right now. Waves of heavy snow overnight, and it eventually winds down as we head to lunch tomorrow. All of this will put us in about a foot to a foot and a half, and that's what we've been talking about here on Fox for the better part of the last 3 days. Now, winds here at 6 p.m. all out of the north. Look at these wind numbers here, 30 to 40 miles per hour into this evening and staying strong into about 6 and 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. This is all about winds interacting with the snow, even once the snow is finished. And when you think about the snow and the wind, I'm sure you think about what I do, Jennifer McDermott, outside braving the elements for us. And Jennifer, you're talking a little bit about snow history.
Yeah, the snow history here in Minnesota. So a lot of us have been talking about this big storm coming. Well, what are some of the past snowstorms that we've had, and how do they compare to what we have right now? Well, first of all, the round 1, we picked up around a little over 4 inches of snow at MSP. That doesn't compare to anything. That's easy. We're Minnesotans. We got that down. But tonight's second wave, that's where we get to comparing it to past storms. So let's go ahead. Meteorologist Cody Matz did this for us, so thank you. A little shout out to Cody there. This is what we've had in past years. So the big mess, just less than a couple of months ago, January 2nd through the 5th, that's where we had 15.1 inches. So earlier today, we woke up to a fresh 4 inches. But that stretch, we had a little over 15. The spring blizzard back in 2018 over that weekend, yeah, that's where we picked up around 15.8 inches of snow. And then the dome buster in 2010, right before Christmas, a little over 17 inches of snow. So this is where we are going to be comparing ourselves to come tomorrow. Now, Halloween blizzard back in 91, I don't know if you've heard of it, but in case you haven't, it happened in 91 over Halloween, and we picked up 28.4 inches of snow. This storm is not going to compare to that. We're not going to be talking about totals in the upper 20s, but we could be aiming for some totals to be right around the spring blizzard as well as the big mess. So we may be talking some company here in the next 24 hours or so, company with the top 10 snowstorms at least here in Minnesota. But for now, Randy, Kelsey, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, we got to come up with a catchy name like the bigger mess, maybe.
I can appreciate Jennifer's facetiousness with that Halloween blizzard. Like
Have you heard of it?
We lived it, right? Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. With all the snow on the way and the problems it causes, Governor Walz calling a peacetime emergency. He authorized the Minnesota National Guard to provide relief and assistance on the roads if necessary. Joining us now, Army Colonel Scott Roweeder, the state's National Guard Director of Operation. Colonel, thanks for joining us. What type of services do Minnesota National Guard members provide during weather like this to other Minnesotans?
Well, thanks for having me on, Randy. The Minnesota National Guard typically provides services such as warming shelters, utilizing our armory locations at our 58 different facilities within the Minnesota National Guard. And that's for any stranded motorists or if they close down interstates or local highways. and they have to get off the roads. It provides them some shelter until they can get back on the roads. Additionally, we have 17 different locations where we have small unit support vehicles, or what we call SUSVs, which are small tracked vehicles that are capable of carrying 10 to 15 personnel. And we'll dispatch those at the request of a county sheriff to go out and support stranded motorists that might not be able to get their vehicle off the highway to one of those warming shelters. And so we will go out, pick them up, and bring them back to an armory location until the storm subsides, and then get back to their vehicles and get back on the road.
So, Colonel, we're about 3 hours into this second phase of the storm. It's a little after 4:30 in the afternoon. Have you seen any areas where you may need to respond?
Currently, right now, from the briefings that we've been in with Homeland Security Emergency Management and Minnesota Department of Transportation, we're seeing some snow activity that could shut down some roads that are out west. And then as it progresses further into Minnesota, we could see more road closures. And if we do, we're here to support for that. Typically, in most of the operations that we've supported in the past, it's been around the I-90 corridor and out west around Highway 7 by the Olivia area, where we have the most support, and we've provided that in the past. But we're prepared to support throughout the state of Minnesota if needed. And do you actually go with military vehicles and pick people up if they've been stranded along the highway or something? I mean, what exactly do you end up doing? So what will happen is we'll get a request in from the county sheriff, and then we will notify those units at the local armories that are closest to that vehicle where it's stranded. And again, this vehicle it's a tracked vehicle that is capable of carrying 10 to 15 personnel in it. So it will dispatch from the armory, move out to that car location, pick up the stranded motorists, and then bring them back to the armory for shelter. All right. Well, Army Colonel Scott Roweeder, State's National Guard Director of Operations. Colonel, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, Randy. I'll bet. All right. Well, there you go. Try not to get stranded and picked up by the National Guard.
Right, but that's why that peacetime emergency was issued, so that they would already be in place. You know, National Guard, these are people who are at work. They're living their normal lives. This is a part-time job, so they have to be notified in advance. And you know, if there are problems on I-90 out there in western Minnesota, they will be out there to help you get to an armory location.
A lot of folks wondering about schools. Are Minnesota school districts making any more changes as we weather this storm? We'll check in live with the superintendent on that subject.
Plus, our team of reporters are keeping track of conditions on the ground. Live across the metro, our winter storm coverage continues right after this.
This is what it looks like at this moment in time. You can see the light snow blowing and drifting across the highway there. That's that crystalline snow that Ian talks about that can and often does adhere to the roadway and become ice. That's kind of what we're dealing with as these temperatures continue to drop. Ian has a lot more details on that, but this is what you have on the roads right now in many parts of Minnesota. Worse out west, where it's
much worse.
As I understand it, the winds have picked up in a bigger way so far.
And Ian, where you have, we'll bring you in on this, where the blizzard warning is in effect, and it's just wide open, blowing snow, and very difficult to see the roadways.
Interesting to point out too that that was a major road that we have the beast rolling along right there. Side streets are an absolute mess and getting worse with every passing hour of snow. I mentioned this earlier. It begins to look here, the entire storm, like the letter T. This part of the T is that storm moisture coming right out of the Gulf of Mexico. The top of the T is the flat part as Arctic air rolls down and turns all of that moisture into this elongated band of snow. In the background, plenty of colors, all of those vivid colors, a part of winter storm warnings, watches, and advisories. Tornado watches and tornadoes on the ground in parts of Missouri stretching into the Ohio River Valley in the next few hours. But the background colors are everything as you see what I call the top of the T surging still to the north. That includes the metro, but as Kelsey was pointing out, the blizzard warning everywhere in red kind of butts right up to the west-southwest metro. This isn't about heavier snow. This is about wind interacting with the snow, reduced visibilities, blowing, drifting snow. This is the kind where if you're trying to make your way down like a county road in greater Minnesota, it's drifted over, the snow is blowing, reduced visibility, maybe less than a quarter mile. You actually can't see what's in front of you. That's the blizzard warning. So over the last 6 hours, here come the bands of snow, intense at times because of the wind. And where we find the brightest white, that's where we find the biggest flakes. The biggest flakes stay in place. We can create some decent snow accumulations over the next few hours. There's St. Paul outside right now. The wind out of the northeast, currently between 10 and 20 miles per hour. A wind chill in the single digits, but it's bands of snow and strong winds. So let me give you a better idea. As we work through tonight, you see the brighter white banding of the snow. The pink to the south is a rain-snow mix. That's going to steal some of the moisture from the snow engine, but we have plenty of snow still to get through tonight. I know you've got anxiety, and I hope you stayed home and the kids are home. You have a movie night tonight. Tomorrow it is commute-busting snow. It's another day to stay on in. And once the snow gets to about 11 a.m., it begins to taper, but the winds will continue to be a big factor in the winter storm warnings and the blizzard warnings. So with the timeline knowing we already picked up 4, almost 5 inches, 2 to 3 this evening, 4 to 6 overnight, 1 to 3 before it winds down mid-morning tomorrow. All told, that gives us 12 to 18 inches of snow for the storm total. Coincidentally, that's what we've been talking about here on Fox since Sunday night. When we talk about winds, strong here, all out of the northeast. These are your projected wind gusts at 30 to 40 plus miles per hour. Look, the clock 11 p.m. So tonight in the heart of the snow, still with some very strong winds. And as we wake up tomorrow morning, the winds begin to slacken and then finally begin to drop tomorrow afternoon. But these are still winds creating blowing and drifting snow even after the snow is finished, an effect we call ground blizzard conditions. It is still going to be nasty and much, much, much colder through the day tomorrow. And as we wake up Friday morning, sub-zero with temperatures. So I think you get the idea. There's still plenty to go through, but stick with us. We're going to help you and me and Randy and everyone else with storm anxiety. We're just going to march you through, and together we're going to get through this, and maybe I'll pop into somebody's house for a movie night.
That would be great. You said coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence that the snow totals are what you guys predict. You worked hard to get that number where it is, so.
Lots of science.
Not always easy.
Got some big brains on the weather team here at Fox 9, Randy.
About the good equipment.
What?
Good instincts. That's what he meant to say.
I said good equipment.
Yeah, up here.
Thanks, Ian.
Well, hundreds of school districts either closed or moved to e-learning for today and tomorrow. And joining us tonight, Minnetonka Superintendent David Law. So, David, thank you so much for joining us. I know that your office and your staff have been very busy trying to plan for this.
Thank you, Kelsey. I think Ian Leonard said storm anxiety, and that pretty much describes the few days leading up to an event like this.
I bet, so much responsibility in your hands. So I know a lot of people are wondering with the lull today, how do you make that decision? Why cancel school instead of going with an early release or something like that?
So We start with National Weather Service with webinars starting probably Sunday into Monday, looking at the windows of time from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and from 1 p.m. to about 5 p.m. And we're really looking at during that period of time, can we safely get our staff and students to and from school? And my preference would always be to have kids in school, but this storm in particular, specifically in yesterday's webinar, there was going to be about 6 to 8 inches on the ground in Minnetonka for my decision, falling right at arrival time, which makes it tough for us to safely get kids in the building. And then this storm also is predicted to have strong winds and snow at dismissal time. Either one of those is a challenge. You know, we've had buses get stuck on the way home already this year, and that's just really, it's scary for kids and it's frustrating for parents. So we erred on the side of caution with that information.
Yeah, you got to think about the storm anxiety with those bus drivers trying to maneuver those huge vehicles through neighborhood streets. And I know some school districts do e-learning. Some have just called these days snow days. Tell us about what Minnetonka is doing and what you've learned about e-learning in the process over the last couple of years.
So we have shifted to e-learning starting tomorrow for our secondary students, and then after that for our elementary. It's really a matter of, for me personally, I have a belief that for our youngest learners, they need adults at home. And it's not the same experience as it is in school for sure. So we told our community that in November, if there was one snow day, that one would be K-12 snow day. If there was a second one that wasn't right away, we'd probably do another snow day. And, you know, perfectly, there wouldn't be more than that. But then after that second snow day, we're going to start putting e-learning in place and use that moving forward. And our teachers are ready to move in that direction because unfortunately the pandemic prepped them for it.
Yeah. Also, President's Day was on Monday, and a lot of districts really haven't had school this week. So that's another thing to factor in. Mr. Law, when will you make a decision about Friday? Because I know conditions in the morning could still be very challenging.
We will look at it again. You know, if you look at the forecast that we just saw, it's supposed to taper off tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully, if our local streets are cleared, we would make a decision. And our parents want those decisions as soon as possible. So if we could tell parents by 5 o'clock tomorrow night, we're confident we can open up on Friday, which is the plan right now. That would be our goal. And then we'll continue to watch it overnight and see if something changes in the morning. But parents overwhelmingly say, please tell us as far in advance as you can for childcare purposes. Yeah. So we're looking at making that decision, another webinar tomorrow possibly, and then a decision right after that.
Well, I don't envy all of the decisions that you have to make. So it's such a big job. So we appreciate all the careful planning that you and your staff put into this, and all the teachers who are going to be working on e-learning and making adjustments on the fly. So we know it's not easy. Superintendent David Law from Minnetonka Schools, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Good luck with the rest of the week.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, conditions around Minnesota changing rapidly as phase 2 of this storm starts to ramp up.
Yeah, it's out there. We're headed back out live to chat with our crews who are out and about in the storm next.
Look at that blowing and drifting snow.
This is what closes roads.
Southwestern Minnesota tonight. That's wide open country. And yeah, it looks, as a still picture, maybe it doesn't look so bad. When you start moving that snow around, though, and you can't see when you're driving, it becomes a problem.
Yeah, Highway 75. If you know where Laverne is, you might know where Trotsky is up in there. But it's flat land out there, and the wind's going to blow. And this is what happens with that light snow. And this is what's going to be trouble for the next 8 hours or more, maybe even more, based on the wind conditions.
That southwest corner to I-90 can always be problematic when we get snow and we get heavy wind conditions.
Yeah.
So we've heard about some closures on I-90. We expect to see that continue through tomorrow and Friday as the wind continues to be a problem. The snow started falling just a couple of hours ago.
And already we're seeing conditions like that photo there that change very quickly.
I'm going to get back to our Paul Bloom tonight, who is in Minneapolis, and just kind of today was one of those days where we had that lull and we get ready for the next round. So how's it going out there, Paul?
Well, Kelsey, Randy, it certainly beats Laverne or southwestern Minnesota, but not by a whole lot. I mean, the snow's coming down pretty good when the wind blows. Those big flakes kind of go sideways on us, but inside of course, the iconic sculpture garden, the Cherry and Spoon behind me, I've had basically the park to myself for the most part, although there have been some people out and about watching some traffic behind us on that Hennepin-Lindale corridor. Seems to be moving okay. We got a snowplow coming down the street here. Not sure if we're not going to pan over to see it, but obviously the crews are out in some big numbers. Minneapolis has declared a snow emergency starting tonight at 9 p.m. Of course, the city also making a bunch of parking ramps free or reduced costs. They want city residents to move cars off the streets so those plows have free reign and can really keep the city streets cleared. Of course, we're talking about that high density residential area. We were in the downtown corridor, maybe a bit of an hour ago or so, and you get that real snow globe effect, the snow blowing off the roof from yesterday's 4 to 5 inches, and now today, what Ian's talking about, a foot into the overnight hours. So maybe a little bit shy of some of those huge numbers we were seeing on social media throughout this week, but our meteorologists have been spot on. We're certainly here for the evening. Again, the snow falling, the wind blowing, city snow emergency in effect. So start thinking about parking issues tonight. The city wants to get these roads just as clear as possible as we move in later this week. Kelsey, Randy, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. We have a view from the airport tonight where we have a number of cancellations and delays. I was just looking on FlightAware's website to try to get a firm number on that, but that's also a moving target. So very quiet at MSP International this evening, and expect that to be the storyline there through the next day.
You see that group up there by the ticket counter? They're going, okay, maybe we'll get out of here tonight.
Or maybe we won't get to Fargo till Saturday. Yeah.
There you go. We have more team coverage tracking this winter storm straight ahead. Don't go anywhere. More coverage of our winter storm taking up near Roseville there through Highway 36, a main thoroughfare. Normally on a 5 o'clock there would be a lot of traffic on. The good news tonight, people did heed the warnings. The roads were going to turn in a southwardly direction as this storm moved in on second phase, and that's exactly what happened. There's a snowplow on that off ramp there, moving through, helping folks out, actually a double. Again, this is going to be going on all night long, folks, so if you don't have to travel, the word is please don't. Neighborhoods turning into some snow globe settings this evening as the storm ramps up. Let's go back live to Minneapolis. In fact, we'll go into Uptown where we find Fox's Mills Hayes. Mills, how are things there?
Hey, Randy. Well, the snow is starting to come down a little bit harder. It really started about 2 hours ago and has started to come in gusts, I would say. But yeah, there's been points where the snow has been smacking me in the face. I will tell you, though, that the snow has been coming down and covering these roads. You guys can see it behind me. There were some snow plows out earlier today that were plowing the roads. The roads look pretty good on the interstate. I headed from uptown Minneapolis to Edina, and it was smooth sailing. It took a little bit longer than usual, but the roads did look pretty clear. It's those back roads in the residential areas that are really starting to pile up, and the snowplows aren't able to get to them as fast. But we haven't seen a whole lot of traffic out here today. A lot less cars out than there usually would be on a busy Wednesday workday. But I've spoken to people here who tell me they're choosing to work from home just to stay off those roads and get out of any kind of danger there might be. But there really is a lot of anticipation for tonight. Everyone is just in this holding pattern, waiting to see how bad the storm is going to be. But the people I spoke with, they tell me that they haven't been as impressed with the storm as of yet.
This morning coming in, it was really icy, and there's some wind, you know, but other than that, it wasn't too bad this morning. I know tonight it's going to be a lot worse. I don't like being cold, you know, living here, you know, my parents, you know, had me here, so I've been here. But I'd really like to go somewhere else where it's warm all the time. For sure.
I know the worst of it's coming. It was sort of the appetizer yesterday. It's been a lot harder, I think, than other winters.
And it has been a lot harder than other winters. This year, we have seen more snow already this season than we did the entire winter season last year. In Uptown, Mills Hayes, Fox 9.
All right, Mills, thank you. We have a lot more team coverage for you as we cover this Chapter 2 of this storm. Fox 9 News at 5 starts right now.
Heavy snow, a lull, and now it's time for round 2.
200 plows in the metro, 400 drivers to keep them on the roads 24 hours a day.
We're tracking this major winter storm tonight. Team coverage as the snow intensifies. Fox 9 News at 5 starts now.
Well, it is here, round 2 of this major winter storm coming down right now. We did have a break today, but we want to focus on what's happening right now and what's going to be happening this evening because it's expected to get rough on the roads.
I'm going to take you outside right now, live look at some conditions on the roads as we speak. This is what we're seeing at 35E and 77. This is in the Apple Valley area. You can see the roads going from good to partially covered. They're going to be fully covered here if they're not already in some of those areas. Bridge decks obviously going to be very slippery, so definitely take care when you're out there on the roads tonight. Here's another perspective of the roads from our mobile vehicle right now. We are live where, Natalie? Where are we? Maybe we're not sure exactly where. Somewhere on an interstate here, I believe in the metro area. The evening commute would be underway at this time normally, but the roads are not nearly as packed. The National Guard standing by, of course, ready to help out those stranded drivers.
We're seeing some snow activity that could shut down some roads that are out west. And then as it progresses further into Minnesota, we could see more road closures. And if we do, we're here to support for that. Typically, in most of the operations that we've supported in the past, it's been around the I-90 corridor and out west around Highway 7 by the Olivia area where we have the most support, and we've provided that in the past. But we're prepared to support throughout the state of Minnesota if needed.
And you see it out your window, light snow coming down now for the last couple of hours. Several cities declaring snow emergencies, including St. Paul and Minneapolis. And both cities have opened up some ramps where people can park during the storm. We have those details on our website. Just check out fox9.com. So good evening to you, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Amy Hockert.
Yeah, we hope that you are in a nice, safe place, just enjoying some time at home. I'm Kelsey Carlson. We have team coverage of this winter storm as the snow is expected to last through tomorrow.
All right, we have our reporters out in the field, but let's start here in the studio. And Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard standing by. You've been tracking this now for days.
Yeah, and you've been calling this storm, major, monumental. So where are we in terms of how it stacks up against others?
I'd say right now, as we get into this next phase, we can call it epic and start working forward from there. By the way, I always feel so bad for the reporters outside, Rob and Paul and Karen. But, it's part of the job to be out there. Mine is to be here and to continue to do the math. So here's what we're talking about. The winter storm warning in purple, that includes the metro. The blizzard warning in red butts right up to the west, southwest metro. There isn't much of a difference in terms of snowfall. The blizzard warning is more about reduced visibilities, heavily reduced visibilities, blowing, drifting snow. And I got to tell you, it won't be long before the roads start to close off to the southwest. Over the last 6 hours, you may have looked out the window in the last couple and you see those massive snowflakes and it's hard to see across to your neighbor's house. A couple of minutes later, 15, 20 minutes later, you look outside and you're like, it stopped snowing. It hasn't stopped. What we have are these bands of heavier snow that will continue to work their way through. There's a live look at St. Paul. Earlier, you could barely see across the river. Now you see the flakes. Bands of snow with the very strong winds, and that's a very important part with the very strong winds overnight. It will be a commute buster as we wake up tomorrow morning, and we continue to talk about the winter storm and blizzard warning. So in terms of snow, we're still on track for what we've been talking about in the Fox 9 Weather Center since Sunday. A foot plus with commute busting snow tomorrow. And of course, we've got our reporters outside. I'm going to stop talking so they're not out any longer than they have to be. We'll talk a little bit more about this forecast and march you through it. Reduce a little anxiety if I can in about 10 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Ian. Our crews are out in the elements, and they have been for the last couple of days, checking conditions throughout the metro and beyond.
Let's check in with our Karen Scullen. She's in Norwood, Young America, just west of the metro. So Karen, how are things out there?
Well, we are in Norwood, Young America, right along 212 here. Let's first talk about the snow. It's definitely coming down, the tiny little particles coming down, but it's really weird. We were in Waconia about an hour ago, and it actually seems better out here. I know Ian mentioned there's kind of some slight lulls and things in the storm, so I guess that's what we're experiencing out here right now. 212 right behind me, you can see, yes, there is kind of a slick layer on our way out here. I would call it slippery for the most part, but as you can see, drivers coming my way here, they're driving through just fine, kind of lickety-split down 212 here, no problem whatsoever. I think the key right now, though, is visibility is kind of starting to diminish. Let's spin the camera around here, take a look kind of west down 212, and that's where you can really kind of see how the snow is kind of blowing back over the road that, of course, was just plowed. We just had to plow through here, and once again, the snow is just starting to kind of blow over the 212 there, but there those cars go. As you get to the traffic light down there, that's where you can see that the visibility is really starting to go down. So that's probably the first to go here as the snow comes down, as the winds pick up. Sure, yeah, it's going to be hard to see if you're driving through the night here, but I got to give a shout out. DQ's still open. A lot of places closing early. They're still open, so certainly things are still moving and grooving out here in Norwood, Young America for the most part. I think we just kind of have to keep an eye on things as the night goes on. Right now, we're live in Norwood, Young America. Karen Scullen, back to you. To Paul. We're going to go to Paul in Minneapolis.
Yeah, no, I'll take it. I'll take it over for here while you go get your blizzard in the blizzard, right? We're here in the Sculpture Garden in downtown Minneapolis. When that wind relaxes, not too bad, right? Decent-sized snowflakes here piling up. Kind of thinking about what it's like being in this park. Of course, summertime, a lot different feel today. It is cold. Of course, the city of Minneapolis should start out, point out that the city has declared a snow emergency, very much expected in anticipation of this really 3-day winter event, if you will. We were up on the north side a few hours ago, one of those big city graders on board that vehicle, watching it plow North 48th Avenue there. And you can see when the cars are parked on the side of the road how they have to go around. They're really hoping to get as many cars off the roads. They've opened parking ramps for free or reduced pricing in the city to get vehicles moved so plows can get through there. Hennepin Health, they shuttered their clinics early today, 3 o'clock this afternoon. They won't reopen until noon tomorrow, giving plows and crews opportunity to clear all of the snow that's coming. And no doubt whether you're at the wheel of a plow or just firing up a snowblower at home or pulling out the shovel, we have our hands full right now from Mother Nature.
We're ready to go. With a snow event of this duration and with this volume of snow, everything is going to be a little bit slower. And so, we appreciate our residents' patience. It's like I said, we're going to reevaluate to see if a second snow emergency is necessary. But yeah, we appreciate that people are using our extra parking spaces and preparing themselves to follow the parking rules.
And Public Works telling us it is an all-hands-on-deck effort from here on out. That's the scene here in Minneapolis. Paul Bloom, Fox 9.
All right, thank you, Paul. Well, despite the weather, the girls' state hockey tournament is underway at Xcel Energy Center tonight, and there are games scheduled into the evening, like 8 o'clock tonight.
Let's check in with Fox 9's Rob Olson. He's live in St. Paul. Rob, you did talk to some of those folks who are in town for these games. What'd they have to say?
Yeah, we got to keep going, right? I tell you, one thing that's very helpful here in terms of the teams and the fans, the parents coming to the games is that this has been a very manageable snowfall so far. Steady snow, but very light snow, and the accumulations are going slowly enough that it can be managed. Now, that being said, I've seen them clear the sidewalk behind me 3 times in the last 30 minutes. So it's definitely maybe picking up pace a little bit. But the snow began, about 1 o'clock or so. The first game was at 11 o'clock this morning, as you mentioned, the last game 8 o'clock tonight. And as this, of course, goes into Saturday night, a lot of teams coming from around the state to get here. The single A teams today, you've got teams that had to come in. Many of them were here, of course, yesterday to beat the snowfall. Team from Laverne playing today, and they were in town, but their pep band and their fans, they couldn't make it. I-90 shut down between Laverne and Worthington this morning already, and so that made it a little bit quieter for their game because a lot of their fans weren't able to get here to watch.
Yep, I think all the girls' parents are here, and that's the important thing. Our fan bus couldn't make it, our pep band couldn't make it, so that's unfortunate for the girls that are playing that they won't get to experience that, that extra excitement.
Meaning they were going to come up today?
They were planning to come up this morning, the fan bus and pep band, and then head back. And they're all cheering from Laverne, though. They've got a couple of viewing parties, so they're watching it in one way or another.
Yeah. Yep, and the Laverne team lost, so they play the Constellation against Mankato tomorrow morning, and a lot of them will plan to stay here for a few days, again, keeping an eye on the weather and maybe enjoying the weekend of hockey. But again, these are, games that at this point you're able to get to as we head through the weekend, may be more tricky, and certainly some sectional games in boys hockey and swimming and diving that some of those have been rescheduled, others may need to as this snow keeps coming in. Live in St. Paul, Rob Olson, Fox 9.
Yeah, a lot up in the air right now. All right, Rob. Well, the lull in this snowstorm did give some of us some time to shovel or snow blow.
Yeah, go get some gas and maybe anything that we forgot at the store. Fox 9 photographer Tyler Ryan showing off his shoveling skills in this time-lapse video. If you're about to tackle your driveway, remember to take it slow. Give yourself some breaks because there will be many opportunities to shovel and get that snow blower out. We'll be right back. And welcome back to our winter storm coverage. Live look at the roads tonight as we begin what is a very abnormal evening commute. We might have a shot from Egan. We're trying to get some traffic cameras up, but we definitely have radar and the forecast. There we go. 35 eastbound, Diffley Road in.
Oh, I think we moved to Egan.
Egan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at that ice that's formed right there in the snow, so it's starting to accumulate there.
Not a lot of traffic, which is good because if there are emergencies, it's just easier if there are fewer people on the roads.
Yeah, heed those warnings. All right, the forecast, well, it's been interesting to kind of watch it evolve over the last few days, even in the last few hours, 12 hours or so, Ian. So bring us up to speed. Where are we at?
Okay, big picture view, because we're in the snow and the wind, other parts of the country in some inordinately heavy rain. And I mentioned this earlier, this whole storm system kind of looks like the letter T. The bottom part of the letter T is this pipeline of moisture right out of the Gulf of Mexico. The top of the letter T, that's the moisture coming in contact with some rather sharp cold Arctic air, and that's going to give us this big fan out effect of snow all the way back across the northern plains. Now I had the colors, the watches, warnings, and advisories. This is all about winter. The red is a blizzard warning, the purple a winter storm warning, and the blues wind chill advisories and winter weather advisories. But you notice this band of snow as it comes up from the south. We'll add another band here just from the south and all the way back across I-29, another area of snow. I don't think it's long before highways here in parts of southwest Minnesota are closed down by the authorities because the blowing and drifting snow is brutal. And by the way, that's really the difference here. From the blizzard warning to the winter storm warning, not the amount of snow, but what happens to the snow with very strong winds, reduced visibility, blowing and drifting snow. So I know, look, for the last few days, there's been a lot of anxiety. Oh, this big storm, the high impact storm. This is the final wave, wave 2. And everywhere you see these bands of heavier snow come through, that's where we'll pick up the greater accumulations in very short periods of time. Now, you probably are saying, well, how can you tell where the bigger snowflakes are and the higher bands? Everywhere we see the brighter white, those are where we'll find the larger snowflakes. Larger snowflakes, when they fall down, create more air and they give us more of an accumulation. Instead of last night, we ended up with very fine ice crystals, at least in the near term. We've got what's called a great dendritic growth zone. And I know this, you're like walking into somebody's backyard. Say, Tom, looks like you got a great dendritic growth zone. No, it's not like that. It's the way that snowflakes grow in the lowest levels of the atmosphere. So there's a live look outside St. Paul. The snow continues. 21 degrees with a wind chill right now in the single digits. Bands of snow and strong winds. That's the story for tonight. Watch as it rolls on through. The pink, the rain snow mix to the south, stealing some of the moisture here for the snow engine. But overnight, see how there are some brighter bands, but watch how quickly it all clears as we head through mid-morning. The winds will be strong through the overnight as we get into commute buster snow tomorrow with the winter storm warnings and the blizzard warnings. We picked up just under 5 inches at the airport this morning, 2 to 3 tonight, 4 to 6 through the overnight, and perhaps 1 to 3 tomorrow. You do the math, it's 12 to 16 plus, and that, my friends, is what we've been talking about since Sunday night in the Fox 9 Weather Center. Future wind gusts. Look at these winds out of the north-northeast at 30 to 40 miles per hour. That's a big story overnight. Here we are tomorrow morning. Winds stay strong even after the snow is finished. Get into something we call a ground blizzard effect, where that snow gets all whipped up and pulled around once again. So the story is also the cold. Look at the chill coming in as we wake up Friday morning. Sub-zero with wind chills, way sub-zero, and Friday is just nasty cold. But the weekend and beyond, high temperatures in the mid-30s, plenty of sunshine.
We'll get over this quickly.
Yeah, we will.
I think in a few days you're going to be, this snow is so great to play in. And a few days ago we didn't want to drive in it.
And it'll be like, oh, it wasn't so bad, right? All right, thanks, Ian. Still ahead tonight, we take you down to Florida, where the sun is shining and the twin spring training is underway, how the team is supporting people affected by hurricanes coming up.
And we continue our winter storm team coverage. The snow just keeps coming down. The very latest. We'll walk you through it when we come back. Welcome back. We want to take you back outside on the roads. This is a live shot in St. Paul where our crew is driving through the roads. So you can see, partially covered, but traffic's still moving. This would normally be the heart of rush hour here in the Twin Cities. So folks heading home from work, they try to squeeze in something here before the brunt of this storm moves in. Ian will have much more in his forecast coming up here in about 8 minutes.
All right, meantime, we're going to take a detour down south as we're dealing with this major winter storm. People in Florida are still in recovery mode from hurricanes over the summer.
And of course, the Twins are down in Fort Myers for spring training. They're doing some charity work while they're in town. Here's Fox 9 Sports Director Jim Rich.
We all watched in horror when Hurricane Ian came ashore here in southwest Florida. The structural damage is mind-blowing, but underneath the surface of that was damage done to children here in Lee County. And that's where the Twins today stepped up to the plate.
It's probably the favorite thing about my job is to see the impact that the Twins and our brand and our work can have on a community, how it can help somebody's life. We don't think about it that way. We often define our success in wins and losses, and so often it's that's part of it, but it's not all of it. And this today is a representation of that work off the field that can make a difference.
Twins players, staff, and even President Dave St. Peter pitched in to help the United Way sort new shoes and clothing for the children in the Lee County schools. It's just one of the steps the Twins have taken to support the communities affected by the hurricane. And for the Twins third base coach Tommy Watkins, who is from here and has earned the nickname of the mayor of Fort Myers, this truly hits home.
It was tough to see all the devastation done when the hurricane hit. I know I couldn't get a hold of my parents after the game was over, and it's just tough, man. A lot of people were dealing with a lot of stuff.
Even new star pitcher Pablo Lopez, who hasn't even thrown a pitch for the Twins organization, was there to pitch in today.
Sometimes we don't realize how such little details can make someone else happy. You don't know what some people, a lot of people are fighting their own wars. Some people are going through their own struggles. So any action, any selfless action, any selfless kind of act of joy, can bring a smile to someone. And if I'm able to bring a smile to someone, that's going to put a smile on me, and it's a good feeling.
With the Twins in Fort Myers, Jim Rich, Fox 9 Sports.
So great to see. All right, the winds starting to kick up. They're pretty intense in some parts of the state. So, of course, with that comes a possibility of power outages.
So coming up tonight, some tips on what to do if you do lose power during this storm. Also, Ian, of course, back with his forecast and a look at what we can expect tonight into the overnight hours and tomorrow morning. Our winter storm coverage continues in just a few minutes. United Airlines and 5 other companies are teaming up to develop sustainable aviation fuel. United says the group is starting with a $100 million investment. The partners include Air Canada and Boeing. The goal is to make a fuel that creates fewer emissions than conventional fuel. Amazon has seen a boom in ebooks with ChatGPT listed as the author. Turns out ChatGPT is not only an interactive research tool, it can also make writing a book child's play. A salesman from Rochester, New York, used the AI software to create a 30-page illustrated children's ebook in a matter of hours and then sold it on Amazon. He's not alone. There are now more than 200 ebooks in Amazon's Kindle store listing ChatGPT as an author or co-author. All right, Randy, Amy, I'll turn it over to you guys and Ian for the latest on this storm.
Oh boy, keeps coming at us.
Here we go. All right, thanks, Kelsey.
All right, well, back out our winter storm coverage. We've been checking the roads all evening long. This is what we're seeing in the West Metro. I should note here, because I just had a conversation with Ian, we're kind of on the main roads here. Those side streets are nasty. This is a main road. This is I-94 coming out of St. Paul. But when you get on those side streets, and we're going to send our live mobile vehicle into the side streets here before too long and get some of those side streets as well. This is the West Metro. Yeah, there you go. Several highways in western Minnesota closed tonight due to blowing and drifting snow. This includes I-90 from Worthington to the South Dakota border. The road closures will remain in effect until conditions improve out there, which will be a while.
Well, we have had a lull today. The snow blowers have been active all day. A lot of us trying to clear out the snow before it becomes too overwhelming and the second round really takes hold. It's been coming down for just a few hours. If you can, go help a neighbor out with some shoveling or snow blowing. This is the time to sort of step up and help them out.
Fortunately, it's that light, fluffy stuff, so it goes pretty well. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard with the very latest.
And Ian, we saw it there. The winds really picking up. Southwest Minnesota, there are some roads that are already closed because of the blowing and drifting there.
And I talked about that earlier. And that's a foregone conclusion at this point. In the heart of the blizzard warning, it is all about road closures for southwestern Minnesota. I realize we're still looking at our winter beast. I call it the beast. You guys are calling it the weather. It's the beast.
I like the beast.
I like that too.
It's what? Oh, Dorothy.
No, because then it doesn't work for snowstorms. I like beast.
Dorothy the beast. Look, here is our current situation, all in place until tomorrow afternoon. The winter storm warning for the metro, the blizzard warning in red, butts right up here to the south and west metro, all areas to the south. This is an area of the road closures. It's definite as we work through the next couple of hours. Not much of a difference between a winter storm warning and a blizzard warning other than the reduced visibility, the blowing and drifting snow. It is not about more snow. The last 6 hours, what you see is what you get. The bands of heavier snow, the bigger snowflakes. For a spell, you can look out the window and say, wow, look, I can't see the neighbor's house. 20 minutes later, doesn't seem like it's snowing anymore. It's the on and off, almost like taking a faucet, turning it on and turning it off, turning it on, turning it off. Where you see the brightest white bands here, that's where we'll find the biggest snowflakes. But look, North Branch here straddling 35 to the north, Belle Plaine straddling 169 to the southwest, both relatively snow-free, but here in the loop and most of the greater metro with the snow. So let's get you outside. St. Paul, there it is. It has cleared up in terms of visibility, but still bands of snow, with the kicker here being the very strong winds leading to a commute buster snow Thursday morning. And I have to say it, now I know there's some high anxiety out there, but this snow and wind, it's a big part of this evening. We've been talking about it for days. We'll continue to talk about it tonight, and we'll all kind of get through this together. We'll see you in about 15 minutes.
All right, Ian, thank you. We have reporters sprinkled all over the Twin Cities and surrounding suburbs, checking out conditions as the wind blows and that snow continues to fall.
So let's take you out to St. Paul. You just saw a shot there behind Ian. Fox Line's Corin Hoggard live for us. So, Corin, some very light snow. What can you tell us about what you've seen today?
Yeah, the snow, like Ian mentioned, has been heavy for a while and then gentle for a while. What has been pretty consistent, however, is this wind. It's at least 15 miles an hour here, and most of this snow is kind of going sideways. I'm looking at some flags that are at full attention here. We've also seen plenty of that snow build up on the roads near And as we were driving, I wouldn't recommend it, but as we were driving, we could definitely lose control for a little while trying to make turns or hit the brakes. So not ideal conditions out here at all. We're actually standing outside the Union Gospel Mission in St. Paul, which is ready to service the homeless people out here who are coming to find somewhere to warm up. They're pretty crowded at the hotel today, and so they're expecting more than 50 people at their warming center tonight, and anybody is welcome here to catch somewhere warm to stay. It's not ideal conditions, and it's not fun out here. I think I might lose my nose by the end of this live shot, but that's the conditions here in St. Paul. Let's check in with Karen Scullin up in Norwood, Young America.
Well, thanks, Corin. Yeah, we are, 43 miles southwest of Minneapolis in Norwood, Young America, right along 212 here. And you know what? It's not bad. And actually, there's not even that many people out on the roads. I think everybody's home tonight drinking coffee and eating hot dish, I guess. I don't know. It kind of, hey there, kind of got pretty calm out here along not only the roads, but even the snow. It lightened up over the last, I'd say, half hour or so, including the wind. So we're in the blizzard warning out here, but so far at this time and at this minute, not so bad. We do have some traffic coming in right now, and you can see, you know what? They're coming along on 212 just fine. Not so bad at all. Some plows have been out. We've seen several plows keeping it up here along the highway here. And as the winds are starting to pick up, I can feel it right now. You can see that snow kind of blowing back over 212. And that'll be the story tonight, as Ian's been saying. Let's spin around and take a look west right here. Again, that snow kind of starting to make another coating right along the highway there. Visibility, though, we couldn't see past that traffic light, I'd say about 20 minutes ago. Now we can actually see the trees there. So I think that's going to come and go. But certainly as the night goes on, I think we'll have some real problems out on the roads. And that's when you're going to really want to stay inside. Like I said, making that hot dish. Or, in my case, having a blizzard in a blizzard. We're right by the DQ, and actually they're still open. Some restaurants, closing a little bit earlier, but I went with a little chocolate chip cookie dough. That's my fave. And so normally I don't eat cold things when it's this cold, but this is an exception. I mean, how can I not, right?
I love it. All right, Karen, thank you. Well, the winds are so strong that power outages are possible tonight. Right now, we're not seeing many, but that could change throughout the night as the storm intensifies. At this point, we're looking at about 7 outages, so about a dozen customers affected, but we'll keep an eye on it. XL says they do have extra crews that will be working to restore any outages that do happen. The power company also reminding customers about a few tips here. Obviously, stay away from any downed power lines. Keep the natural gas meters clear. Have a home emergency kit ready, and be careful if you're using one of those space heaters. They also say it's best to lower your thermostat down to 68 degrees or lower during these extreme cold events.
And both Minneapolis and St. Paul declaring snow emergencies ahead of this major storm. In St. Paul, 8 ramps are open for parking for free, though. You can park there until Saturday for free. Minneapolis also opening up ramps and lots, free parking there. We have a full list of those lots on fox9.com as well. When the weather is dangerous like this, it's important to always keep tabs on what is happening out there. You can do that with the Fox 9 weather app. You'll find forecasts from Ian and the weather team, along with the latest road conditions and, of course, those all-important school closings. Former President Jimmy Carter is resting at his Plains, Georgia home today as he undergoes hospice care.
People all over the country still reflecting on his legacy tonight. After leaving office in 1981, former President Carter turned his attention overseas, leading the effort to nearly eradicate a parasite disease. It was called guinea worm. His nonprofit, the Carter Center, has worked to provide health education and clean water wells to villages in affected countries as well. When their efforts began, more than 3 million people in Africa and Asia had that parasite. And as of 2022, those case numbers have dropped to around a dozen.
His service after his presidency is extraordinary, and we all need to learn from it to give back to humanity as much as we can.
Well, then he returned to his hometown of Plains, Georgia, to take over his family's peanut farm, and he served as a Sunday school teacher as well.
President Biden condemning Moscow's decision to pull back from the last remaining U.S.-Russia nuclear arms treaty as he wraps up his tour of Eastern Europe. The president spoke to leaders of 9 NATO nations most worried about Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Meanwhile, Putin himself meets with China's top foreign policy official Wang Yi. The visit fueling worldwide concern that China may step up and into this conflict.
The CDC says the flu vaccine worked well this winter in the U.S. and that the flu season has already dissipated. The shots were 40% effective in preventing adults from getting sick enough that they had to go to the doctor. Officials say this shot was a pretty good match for the strains that spread over the fall and winter. Annual flu vaccines are recommended for everybody 6 months and older.
All right, cool space story. Astronomers using the James Webb Space Telescope to peer back into the early days of the universe, and they spotted something unexpected. The Space Observatory revealing 6 massive galaxies that existed between 500 million and 700 million years after the Big Bang that created our universe. The discovery is upending existing theories about the origins of all galaxies.
Wow.
Wrap your head around that for a second, right? Stick with the snowstorm.
All right, it's coming up next. Back out into the elements. We're going to check in with all of our crews who are outside. They are all out there tracking the snow for you.
But first, as Ian has been saying, the wind playing a pretty notable role in this storm. This is video from Kimball, Minnesota today, just northwest of Annandale. Yeah, the wind's blowing, snow is going with it. More on that in the overnight hours as well. We'll be right back. Well, I promised we'd send our mobile weather vehicle into the side streets to see what conditions are there, and here it is. This is the side streets of St. Paul. These are the kind of things that the city is trying to get ahead of before it's too bad. And fortunately, not a lot of people parking on that particular street, which is good as we move forward. More snow is going to fall. More of that snow is going to blow around, so they'll have to get on top of that over the next 24 hours as well. It is expected to cause some problems for anyone driving this evening and tomorrow morning, but also for anyone parking in the Twin Cities.
This will be a headache. It's been a problem throughout the winter. Fox's Mills Hayes live for us in Minneapolis right now. So Mills, what are you seeing out there in Minneapolis?
Yeah, well, Randy and Amy, I am in the Uptown area, and you guys can see behind me there isn't a whole lot of traffic out here and not a ton of people driving, but the roads are they're okay. I mean, we've seen some snowplows come through earlier today, but since that snow has come down a lot harder in the past few hours, it started to cover up what the snowplows had gotten to work on. And it is a little bit tough driving on these roads, especially the back roads in the residential areas in Uptown. You really have to stop 15 seconds before you want to stop. When I was driving earlier, it was a little bit difficult to try to maneuver around those smaller streets, especially when there are people parked on both sides, because you really have to be careful in those instances because of the ice on the ground. Now, not a whole lot of people, like I said, that are out here today. Some people I spoke with tell me they have chosen to work from home to kind of stay off those roads. We know public officials have been trying to get people to stay home, particularly tonight, because that's really when we're going to see the most of this snow come down, anywhere between 18 to 24 inches. I spoke with people around the Twin Cities, and they tell me that they haven't been as impressed with the snowstorm yet.
This morning coming in, it was really icy, and there was some wind, you know, but other than that, it wasn't too bad this morning. I know tonight it's going to be a lot worse. I don't like being cold, you know, living here, you know, my parents, you know, had me here, so I've been here, but I'd really like to go somewhere else where it's warm all the time. For sure.
I know the worst of it's coming. It was sort of the appetizer yesterday. It's been a lot harder, I think, than other winters.
And it has been a lot harder this winter. The National Weather Service tells me that so far this winter season, up until February, we have already seen more snow than we did the entire winter season last year. So a lot more snow that people here in Minneapolis are going to have to deal with, but we're going to get even more tonight. In Uptown, Minneapolis, Mills Hayes, Fox 9.
All right, Mills.
Yes, sir.
Bundle up, stay safe out there. All right, let's take you outside now to the east. This is White Bear Lake. This is a shot that if you watch our newscasts, we take this shot occasionally to show you what's happening. And, you know, people are fishing and it's beautiful.
Hey, it's more
We're not
fun
really
in the
sure.
summer.
We're not sure, but you can barely see there the
He might be
visibility.
trying to get that thing off the ice.
The guys in the truck are like, "Where are you going, Tom?"
Poor fella. Hopefully he gets that thing off the lake.
I'm not fishing with you guys anymore.
We're just going to insert our own track here. And wow.
Well, it's not a night for man or beast out there on White Bear Lake.
You are absolutely right. It is a night to stay inside, and in particular because the roads, especially the side streets, are brutal. Now, the main roads, because there wasn't a lot of traffic today, and you've heard our reporters saying this, it really gave the plows a chance, especially during the low, to get rid of the snow that fell overnight, anywhere between 3 and 6 inches overnight. Vivid colors in the background as the wave of snow continues to advance across the north. The wave started at around 2 o'clock this afternoon, and this is banded snow, so you'll see some very big flakes, and then it's almost like it stops. There's nothing else. 20 minutes later, very big flakes to some very fine flakes. So it's kind of a lot mixing in here. In terms of what we're facing tonight, the winter storm warning for the metro, the blizzard warning in red butts right up to the west-southwest metro. And really, when you talk about a winter storm warning and a blizzard warning, the only real difference here is the wind and the wind speed. This is where we'll see reduced visibilities to down to a quarter mile or less. We already have plenty of reports of road closures down to the southwest. Look, it's just not a night you should be driving too far, if at all. Over the last 6 hours, you get the bands of heavy snow coming through. And as we bring you on down, now in Eden Prairie, that's where we're located. You look out the window, you're like, there really isn't much going. Heard from a friend in Minneapolis, said it was snowing to beat the band. That's a good one, right? Yeah. I don't know what that means.
Let's think about it.
Has to do with a marching band or in a parade.
Some of those are easy to figure out, but this one's a different.
Snow to beat the band. And everywhere you see these brighter whites and the banded snow, that's where we have the bigger snowflakes. So there you go outside St. Paul. A while ago, you couldn't see the other side of the river. Now you see an occasional flake. It's the ebb and flow of banded snow. It's 21 degrees with a wind chill right now at 1. The bands of snow, the strong winds, that's a big part of this forecast as we roll through tonight. And anybody who's watching is thinking, wow, God, I thought we were going to get a lot more than this. Since Sunday night, we've been saying a foot to about 1.5 feet here at Fox 9, and I really think that is still our target through the overnight. And, of course, that's the 3-day storm total. Notice at 7 a.m., one last area of banded snow, and it is quickly gone. As you head to the noon hour, there's no more falling snow, but plenty of blowing snow after a commute busting snow overnight with the winter storm warnings and the blizzard warnings. Round 2 intensifies tonight with the wind and the bands of snow. 2 to 4 inches up to midnight, into about 6 a.m. tomorrow, perhaps another 3 to 6, and then the snow winds down super fast tomorrow morning as the winds stay rather strong into the noon hour. Winds, a big part of this forecast. Look at the wind. See those lines? We call those stream lines, all out of the northeast at 30 to 40 miles per hour. Here we are, 11 p.m. Wednesday night, still blowing to beat the band. I don't know. You just figure you can put that anywhere. Hold on, not yet. Now here comes the winds. Tomorrow morning the snow is finished and we'll turn the wind slowly out of the north-northwest at 15 to nearly 25 miles per hour. So the wind's still a factor once the snow stops. And again, since Sunday we've been talking about 1 foot, 1.5 feet. That's exactly where we should be tomorrow morning with our 3-day total. And then, of course, you look toward the weekend. Friday is brutally cold. We wake up sub-zero and top out at 10. By the time we look toward early next week, we're talking high temperatures in the 30s. It's going to be like, hot dog. Where's Ian? He's outside playing in the snow.
Absolutely.
Did we figure out what it means yet?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Oh.
Kind of. Go ahead.
Well, one meaning was that something is happening so intensely or loudly that it's over the volume of the band that's playing.
So, yeah, it evolved from shouting to beat the band.
Yeah.
You want to shout so loud that you're beating the band. So that's where it came from.
You guys are the best.
Well, Googles.
Yeah, well, you can thank the Googles. Yeah.
They learn something every day from you. That's fantastic. Thanks, Ian.
Our winter storm coverage continues as the snowstorm intensifies. As the night goes on, those words just moments ago from Ian Leonard.
That's right. We'll take a look at the conditions all over the state when we come back. Stay with us.
All right, we are keeping track of everything weather-related right now, and it's not just the roads that are impacted by this winter storm. Hundreds of flights also canceled out at MSP. At last check, about 400 are canceled. We have about 46% of the flights that were supposed to go out have been canceled, and about half, 50% coming in, have been canceled as well today. And then we have more than 100 delays as well. And let's take you down to the roads. This is another view. Highway 62 and 43rd Avenue. You can see that bridge deck completely covered. And the rest of the roads, that fine, thin snow is what makes it so slippery. And we're seeing a lot more spinouts and crashes on our roads here in the metro. So take it easy.
And where are we getting all this stuff? Well, MnDOT is tracking all of this throughout the Twin Cities. They have the road conditions on their website, and you can see it. It doesn't look good. I mean, it's just not good anywhere, right? Purple means travel not advised, and we're seeing that in southwestern Minnesota in a big way. Roads are completely covered in parts of the metro as well, those side streets especially, and in the southeastern regions. Stay safe out there if you do have to travel out, but stay home if you can. That's the advice of those who are watching over us on nights like this. More snow on the way as the night goes on, well into the morning as well.
Yeah, it's coming down. It is cold out there. You don't want to get stuck unprepared.
Coming up, where you can find a safe place to stay warm the next few nights as we deal with this major winter storm.
Crew Cab.
Well, when the weather is like this, we think about those who may not have shelter. So several warming spaces are now open as the snow is coming down. In Ramsey County, you'll find them at Union Gospel Mission in St. Paul, the Phelan Activity Center, Newell Park Building, and also the St. Paul Opportunity Center. They're open nightly from 9:30 at night to 6:30 in the morning, and they will be open through February 28th. Our winter storm coverage continues. Fox 9 News at 6 starts right now.
Winter is a team sport. We'll be doing our part to get the highways clear. I know a lot of these other folks behind me are going to be doing their part to keep folks safe as well. But the public has a huge role to play. We need your help.
Phase 2 of this winter storm is now underway, with high winds playing a big role. From road conditions to plans, from public works to community events, both canceled and ongoing, Fox 9 has you covered as we work through this nasty winter weather.
This is Fox 9 News at 6.
And let's go outside. A live look at the roads. Minneapolis 35W southbound, now a few hours into tonight's round of snow. Don't be deceived. I'm just going to be right up front about this. These are the main roads. If you get off these main roads, folks, it's a mess. Many making use of the lull that we had this morning, clearing off their driveways before this afternoon when the second phase hit.
Also, if you get into rural Minnesota where it's flat and open, there's a lot of blowing snow. And yes, those main roads may look okay right now, but we're looking at the big picture here. We have live team coverage across the metro, and we want to get started with Chief Meteorologist Dan Leonard in our studios here. And in addition to all the snow coming our way, that wind is going to be a challenging factor.
Yeah, and we say that with Karen and Rob and Paul all outside waiting to bring you current conditions and what's happening. For us, outside at times has looked positively awful, but it is banded snow, so it really is kind of like somebody's turning the flakes on and turning them off in successional waves over the last few hours, and that's the case tonight. Look, some colors on the map. Everywhere in purple, including the metro, that's a winter storm warning. The red butts right up to the southwest metro and off to the southwest. That's a blizzard warning. The difference here isn't about snow, it is about wind. Reduced visibility, blowing and drifting snow. Plenty of reports of closed roads in southwest Minnesota. Started around 2 o'clock this afternoon. And when I say banded, pretty easy to pick it out here. You see the brightest white, and then there's that dull gray look on radar. The brightest white are the biggest snowflakes, the kind that make it hard to see the neighbor's house across the street. Here's a live look at storm vision. So down to up toward Forest Lake and across St. Croix, that's some heavier snow. From Buffalo, parts of northern Wright County, that's some heavy snow. Lakeville here into parts of north and northwestern Goodhue County and across the Mississippi, that's some heavy snow. In the metro, south metro in particular, some very fine snow crystals. As you go through the next few hours, it will be about bands of snow and some very strong winds. Tomorrow morning, it's commute busting snow, but it ends so very fast. And once the snow ends, it is time to put the winter storm warnings and the blizzard warnings away. But with commute busting snow from this point forward into tomorrow morning, it's no wonder we need to check in with everybody outside. If there was a saving grace today, it's that the roads weren't that busy, especially the main roads for our weather tracker. They look decent. It's the side streets that are positively brutal. We'll get things back to you. We'll march you through tonight with Futurecast here in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, to your point, I want to take you live outside now as the flakes have been falling now for a few hours.
Yeah, Fox 9's Karen Scullin is live out in Glencoe. And Karen, you came prepared for this live shot in the snow, and we know that you've had a chance to go to Dairy Queen. We're so happy about that because it's tough to have the assignment outside in a snowstorm like this.
Ooh, you're not kidding. I mean, it has changed too over the last 20 minutes. I mean, 20 minutes ago, I was like, it's kind of a lull, not so bad. But wow, we're out in Glencoe now, and it is getting colder and windier, and now those little flakes are hurting my face, just like you'd expect as things kind of continue on into the night here. We are along 212. Look at it's a ghost town. Nobody on the roads out here. But we did see a car or two. They're getting along through on the highways here just fine. You can see, though, as the winds do pick up, that snow is starting to cover the roads that have been plowed again and again. They were nice and clear. Not so much anymore. We're kind of on a frontage road or a side street. And you can see kind of those, what do they call them, finger drifts or those little pillow drifts that are kind of coming across the road here, and that pretty much happens on the highways too. That's what kind of catches drivers off guard sometimes, is those pillow drifts. You know, you're going along and then all of a sudden, boom, you hit one, and that can throw you off. We did see a car in a ditch, so it is slick out here. You got to be careful, but it's kind of changing rapidly as we kind of headed a little bit further west than we were. But just got to be careful, stay inside, and it looks like everybody is at home tonight, at least in this area here, maybe enjoying a nice warm toasty fire or coffee or hot dish, I don't know, but good news. So everybody will stay safe and off the roads, and that is really what you need to do. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right. Stay warm, Karen. We're going to speed up time for you to get you home.
Hot dish sounds good.
Anything warm tonight, right? Crockpot meals or something like that. MnDOT crews are now working around the clock to make the roads as safe as possible for anybody who is forced to travel in the snow.
Fox 9's Paul Bloom joins us now live from Minneapolis with more on their efforts tonight. Paul?
Yeah, let's start with MnDOT. Randy Kelsey spoke to a communications professional there with the agency earlier today. She said 3 of their plows had already been hit over the last 24 hours in the metro area. So as they are out and about, asking drivers to be smart, to be safe, allow those plows to do their work. I think a lot of people headed home or maybe are home already. I'm sure a lot of parents will be working from home. We know a lot of schools have already canceled for Thursday, so the plows should have full reign of the roadways moving forward, at least in the greater metro area. As for Minneapolis, we have some video. You're up on the north side today. Important to note here, the 2 major cities, Minneapolis-St. Paul, declaring snow emergencies. We were expecting that. Check out the city grader. We were with them up on North 48th, and you can see they have to get around those cars that are parked on side streets, on residential blocks, and obviously they want those cars moved. Of course, Minneapolis opening up, as is St. Paul, plenty of free and reduced parking options in ramps to get the cars off the streets. Hennepin Health shutting down clinics early today. They were shut at 3 o'clock, won't reopen Thursday until noon. Clearly, everybody, whether you're using a snowblower at home or shovel, you're at the wheel of a plow, hands full these next couple days because of Mother Nature.
It's going to be challenging out there. It gets really more difficult when you've got those strong winds really creating that snow globe effect. It makes it a lot harder to see out there. And we don't want anyone to slide off or get into a crash because that slows down everything we're able to do to clear roads.
And just interesting observation, we've been in the sculpture garden on the kind of doorstep of downtown Minneapolis all afternoon long. It's interesting, as we look behind us, the visibility has actually improved over the last several hours. We now get a clear shot of the skyline. Not sure what that is indicative of. Clearly, these big, large snowflakes continue to fall. When the wind blows, it hurts. It hurts, exposed skin. But obviously, we'll continue to monitor it all. But for now, why don't we send it back to you guys in the warm, cozy studio of Eden Prairie.
All right. Well, I can tell you, and it's indicative of those banding that Ian talked about, where some areas in a very thin band will get heavy snow, and some areas will get light snow, and that's what we were experiencing there with Paul Bloom. Despite the weather, girls' state hockey tournament is underway at Xcel Energy Center, and there are more games still scheduled for tonight.
It's been an interesting day out there. A lot of parents and family members able to make it, but the fans and the pep bands, they were back at home. Fox 9's Rob Olson live in St. Paul for us, and you were able to talk with some of the folks who came into town for this tournament. It is still happening despite the weather.
Yeah, the games go on. Of course, all the teams, getting into town ahead of this storm. It's the fans, it's the parents, the relatives, the other students. That's a question. This snow has been manageable, light and at a slower pace, although they've still had this nice machine, the Bobcat out here with the blower, with the brush on the front, has done a nice job trying to keep the sidewalks clean for the fans. Now, again, the first games beginning this morning here at Xcel Energy Center. The snow beginning shortly after noon, maybe around 1 o'clock is when it came in. Interesting, of the 8 teams playing today, only 2 are from the metro, the other 6 from out of state. So that's where it impacts the fans and the parents, the other family members coming in. Tomorrow, of the 8 teams, there's only 1 from out of state, and that is Moorhead. So everybody else, Twin Cities area, that is the issue. It's Moorhead tomorrow night, and we ran into a pair of grandparents who drove in from North Dakota today to catch their granddaughter play tomorrow night because they knew if they didn't come today, they probably wouldn't make it at all.
We left at 7 o'clock this morning thinking that will be a window to leave and get here before the storm hits.
And you did?
Yep.
And we did.
Yep.
What do you think now?
I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're here. And anxious to see our granddaughter play for the Moorhead Spuds.
Well, you got to wait till tomorrow night?
We'll do that.
Yep.
We'll do that. We'll wait.
They are going to wait. Saw the Moorhead team just walking by here, too, getting ready from dinner. Well ahead of the game tomorrow night. As mentioned, though, 6 of the teams playing today coming from out of state. I talked to the wife of the head coach from Laverne down in southwest Minnesota. They made it here yesterday, but their pep band and the pep bus, meaning the student fans that were supposed to come today, they couldn't come. They had to stay at home and watch it remotely there because I-90 closed fairly early on. So they couldn't get here. They certainly knew they probably wouldn't be able to get home. So it was a quiet game for Laverne when they played this afternoon. But again, the games go on here through the weekend. The impacts, though, may come for high school sectional playoff games in boys hockey and in swimming and diving. Some of those scheduled this weekend have already had to be pushed back a little bit, but there's a tight timeline, obviously, to get those games done to keep everything on track. So a lot of people watching the weather and, watching hockey as the snow falls. Live in St. Paul, Rob Olson, Fox 9.
All right, well, glad that grandparents Randy and Colleen could make it in. Times like this, it is essential to have the Fox 9 weather app. You can get the latest on the forecast from our weather team, as well as updated road conditions and school closing information. It is free to download. Just search Fox 9 Weather in the App Store or Google Play. Taking a look at the crash numbers across the state, and the early afternoon hours showed things were pretty calm on the roadways because we had that lull in the weather. Minnesota State Patrol reporting just 34 crashes from 11:30 to 3:30 today, along with 26 spinouts and 1 jackknifed semi. Of those 34 crashes, 2 injuries were reported, with none serious or fatal. Officials are urging Minnesotans to stay off the roads if they can and be very careful driving tonight and into the overnight hours.
Yeah. Well, while getting ready for the new season today, the Twins taking some time off the baseball diamond.
See how the team helped out in their home away from home, giving back to the community still struggling after Hurricane Ian. Well, if you don't have a snowblower, it was very heavy lifting for some people out there on their driveways this morning. That break from the snowstorm gave us all a little bit of time to get ready for the second wave. Our Fox 9 photographer, Tyler Ryan, showing us how he was able to dig out from the first round last night. Ahead of the Twins staring spring training games in the face, players and coaches are helping out their second community after the devastation of Hurricane Ian.
Fort Myers, as you know, was one of the worst hit areas when Ian hit back in September. Sports director Jim Rich has more on how the Twins are doing what they can to help families still needing a lot of help now nearly 6 months later.
We all watched in horror when Hurricane Ian came ashore here in Southwest Florida. The structural damage is mind-blowing, but underneath the surface of that was damage done to children here in Lee County. And that's where the Twins today stepped up to the plate.
Probably the favorite thing about my job is to see the impact that the Twins and our brand and our work can have on a community, how it can help somebody's life. We don't think about it that way. We often define our success in wins and losses, and so often it's that's part of it, but it's not all of it. And this today is a representation of that work off the field that can make a difference.
Twins players, staff, and even President Dave St. Peter pitched in to help the United Way sort new shoes and clothing for the children in the Lee County schools. It's just one of the steps the Twins have taken to support the communities affected by the hurricane. And for the Twins third base coach Tommy Watkins, who is from here and has earned the nickname of the mayor of Fort Myers, this truly hits home.
It was tough to see all the devastation done when the hurricane hit. I know I couldn't get a hold of my parents after the game was over, and it's just tough, man. A lot of people were dealing with a lot of stuff.
Even new star pitcher Pablo Lopez, who hasn't even thrown a pitch for the Twins organization, was there to pitch in today.
Sometimes we don't realize how such little details can make someone else happy. You don't know what some people, a lot of people are fighting their own wars. Some people are going through their own struggles. So any action, any selfless action, any selfless kind of act of joy, can bring a smile to someone. And if I'm able to bring a smile to someone, that's going to put a smile on me, and it's a good feeling.
With the Twins in Fort Myers, Jim Rich, Fox 9 Sports.
I like Pablo.
And there's so much that still needs to be done down
so
there.
nice.
Yeah. And it's good to see the Twins connecting with the community.
Not a bad off day for them, right?
Not at all.
Or for Jim, for that matter.
Yeah, for Jim. He is smiling at us right now.
Oh, yeah, I've talked to him. He's like, na boo boo.
Yeah, and he's like, maybe my flight will get canceled to go home and just stay down here.
Yeah, well.
It's great when you work with people like that, isn't it?
He's earned that.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Meantime, back in Minnesota.
Yeah, meanwhile, back at the ranch, there's plenty going on again this evening. In the background, the vivid colors of winter storm warnings, watches, and advisories. To the south, the moisture supply starting to take a bend, but this arching band of snow continues to feed across the region. The snow started 1:30 or 2 o'clock this afternoon. It is banded snow, so as you look here over the last few hours, you'll see that there are areas that are brighter white. That's where we'll find the biggest snowflakes. Now, winter weather advisory and a wind chill advisory to the north. Winter storm warning here that includes the metro and everywhere in red off to the southwest. That's a blizzard warning, and there is no difference really between the winter storm warning and blizzard warning snow-wise. But when it comes to wind, blowing snow, drifting snow, most important here, reduced visibility, that's the blizzard warning with road closures already in southwest Minnesota. Really interesting to see banded snow like this, but in the last few cycles here of radar, you'll notice it goes, instead of these big long lines, it starts to go into one big blob. We'll start to get into more stratiform precip. In other words, it's just going to be some light and steady snow for the better part of the evening instead of this blast and pullback, blast and pullback. Right now, there's a bit of a hole. Burnsville off into South St. Paul. Even a bit of a hole here, the darker colors. St. Michael all the way down to Winstead and just north of Mound. But otherwise, tonight is all about the snow. There's a live look outside. Still snowing in St. Paul. Still snowing in most locations. 20 degrees right now with a breeze out of the northeast and a wind chill at 6. That wind and the wind chill exponential overnight tonight as the bands of snow with strong winds will continue. When I talk about how things go more from banded to kind of one blob, that blob won't have very big flakes, kind of what we did last night with the smaller flakes. Into tomorrow morning, as quick as it started today, it is finished before the noon hour. Add to that the wind, the blowing snow, the drifting snow. We are talking about commute buster snow from this point forward into tomorrow morning with the winter storm warnings and blizzard warnings. I mentioned how wind is a big factor here. Future winds from this point forward out of the northeast, gusting 20 to 40 miles per hour. And if you cleared some of the snow this morning, those were winds overnight that only maxed out at around 20 miles per hour. There were drifts everywhere across my driveway. Got it done. Baxter and I, we were out there. We'll be out there again. By the way, I have a question. Is it okay to use your snowblower like when we get home from here, like midnight? Is that bad or is that okay?
How well do you know your neighbors?
Very well. They're my friends.
I think in storm-type situations, Kelsey, correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably okay?
I think it's fine because you haven't been home all day. You want to clear out what you can so that you're not doing it all tomorrow morning.
I like the way you think, Carlson.
If somebody throws open their window and says, Leonard, put it to rest, then you'll know.
The quick reply is, Merry Christmas! Winds out of the northeast, even tomorrow morning at 20 to 40 miles per hour. Now, here we are tomorrow night. The winds have stopped, but the winds are still in after the snow has stopped. Snow and blowing snow, another 4 to 7 inches overnight. Through the day tomorrow, look where we start. Look where the temperatures go. These north winds will start to really drive in some cold air. The snow is done by the noon hour. We're 13 degrees by the evening. Wind chills already sub-zero. Temperatures and wind chills way sub-zero as we wake up Friday morning. Bad news, that means our road chemicals aren't going to work at all. But then you head towards Saturday and Sunday, temperatures are up into the wow, I want to go outside and play in the snow that just a few days ago I was trying to stay inside and avoid. It does look lovely next week. It is not a night fit for man nor beast this evening through the overnight and into tomorrow morning. And if you hear my snowblower at around midnight or 1 a.m., I beg and ask of your forgiveness.
Yeah, it has to get off there.
Yeah.
Can't leave it on there.
So Ian's neighbors, wear earplugs tonight. But you know what? The rules go out the window when you're just trying to keep up.
Good.
With the snow.
That's good news for me.
All right. Thanks, Ian. Well, when we come back, we continue our coverage of tonight's winter storm, and we're going to check in on the situation at MSP International. A lot of flights canceled or delayed, and that will be the story again tomorrow. We'll be right back.
go up to the North Metro, 35E, 694, Little Canada area, if I'm not mistaken. Main highway's doing all right tonight. A lot of people decided to stay off them, which is good. Normally we'd have a lot more traffic than this at about 6:25 at night. So things are moving along well. Stay off the side streets if you can. Not just the roads impacted by this winter storm. Hundreds of flights being canceled at MSP, as you would expect. As of just a few minutes ago, more than 420 flights are already canceled. For some perspective, that's more than half the outgoing flights at the airport on a daily basis. More than 150 delays have also been reported. And for those now stuck in the Twin Cities, they're planning out their next moves.
I can always go and get a hotel in the local area. However, then I'm going out and I'm braving the weather, the ice and everything else, the cost that's associated with that, and then the cost of the hotel. Where I could just stay here at the airport. I've got everything that I need here, and it's just a little inconvenient. And then is it really inconvenient? I'm safe. That's what's most important to me.
Well, that's a good attitude, Mary. I like that. According to FlightAware, more than 180 flights are already canceled for tomorrow at MSP as well. So check any travel plans you may have for tomorrow and the hours after that. Coming up at 6:30, we continue our winter storm coverage, including a look at the additional parking available here in the Twin Cities.
Make sure to stay right there. We will be right back.
At 25% off.
While some of us are staying inside and avoiding the snow, other Minnesota residents are enjoying this winter weather. That's video from the Minnesota Zoo showing 2 Siberian tigers, Mother Dari and one of her new cubs, enjoying time outside today. Originally, these tigers were from eastern Russia, and they have coats thick enough to protect them from winter weather. So they're going to love this. Fox 9 News at 6:30 starts up next with Tim and BC.
This is Fox 9 News at 6:30.
We want to begin this half hour right away with a live look outside at the roads. This is a live look right now from our weather tracker vehicle heading out in Eden Prairie right now, where you can see the snow starting to drift across the roads a little bit. But the good news is we have some bare pavement there, at least for the moment. That's going to change rapidly here during the next couple of hours. Thanks so much for joining us tonight for our special coverage of this major winter storm. We are now a couple of hours into our second wave with the winds and the snow starting to pick up.
We have our crews positioned around the metro tonight, but first we want to start off with meteorologist Jennifer McDermott. And Jennifer, that snow's been coming down now for several hours.
It has. It began to start snowing again earlier this afternoon by around 1 or 2 o'clock. So for the rest of this evening, taking a look at the timeline over the next 24 to 36 hours, for the rest of this evening, round 2 will continue to push through, intensify, increasing winds from the northwest and from the north. And then by overnight, we will have waves of snow off and on all night long. And the winds are going to create blowing snow, which gives us low visibility as well as dangerous travel. And then for your Thursday morning into Thursday lunchtime, that's when the snow will begin to taper down. We'll begin to wrap things up in terms of falling snow, but the winds will continue to stay strong. Therefore, blowing and drifting snow is still going to be a concern for our Thursday forecast. Here's a look at our radar right now. We do have the blanket of snow moving across central and southern portions of the state. Where you see the brightest white shade, that's where we have the more intense bands of snow. Areas in between Blakely and Waconia, St. James, and up towards North Branch as well. Here in the metro, catching a little bit of a break with some light snowflakes currently falling, but we will continue to have the bands of snow overnight. And as we head into our Thursday, how much snow we are expecting and when our temperatures climb into the 30s once again. Tim, BC, I'll let you know in our 7-day.
Sounds good.
We've placed crews throughout the metro tonight to give you the perspective of this storm across our region.
And we want to start out west with our meteorologist, Alex Laynard. She's in Excelsior for us tonight, so tell us what you're seeing out there.
Well, I'm feeling that brutal wind out of the northeast. It is just howling here in Excelsior. Unfortunately, you can't hear the flag that is right near me flapping like crazy. And fortunately for me, winds at my back. Photojournalist Kent, not so lucky. As you can see, the flakes really pretty fine. It's the drifting here that we're seeing. Want to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at right now here in Excelsior. You can see right here, just off towards my right, this is some ice. This is area that has clearly been exposed and has been allowed to thaw and now refreeze. And then off towards my left here, look at this drift, kind of by that trash can you can see. We'll step over and show you just how much deeper it is over here than where it was where I was standing. As you can see, large drifts. This is going to be the concern. Obviously, we're not on a road, but there are plenty of areas in and around the metro, outside of the metro also as well, where there are big drifts causing a lot of concern for travel on the roadways, mainly when you get out onto some of those more rural roads, not quite the main thoroughfares that we see in and around the metro, but those side streets are just inundated with these drifts right now. Winds brutal. And again, snow doesn't feel like it's falling at a really rapid rate, but that's because it's blowing like crazy for us right now. Over the past couple of hours, it's felt like there have been periods of time where it's like, it's actually not that bad right now. I feel like we're going to be doing okay if it continues like this. But then, as we know, those bands are going to continue. Snow picks up, wind picks up, visibility lessens, and we know over the course of the night, we're going to continue to watch this snow ebb and flow. These bands pick up, the winds pick up, and visibility and drifting become even more of a concern, because if this is what drifting looks like right now here in just Excelsior, we know that it's going to continue to be a problem out there on the road. So if you're heading out on the roads, take it slow. And if you're coming outside, don't be like me and wear a few more layers, because apparently I just didn't think my fingers were going to freeze as fast as they did.
Goodness.
Tim and BC, we'll send it back to you.
We should know better, right, Alex? All right, thanks much, friend. We want to head now out to Minneapolis, which has already declared a snow emergency for tonight.
That means people have to move their vehicles from snow emergency routes. Rose Schmidt joining us now with an update on the parking situation out there. Rose, how are things looking right now?
Well, we've been here in Uptown for much of the early or late afternoon into the early evenings, and for the most part, things have been pretty calm here other than the snow lightly falling. I would say we've seen a lot fewer people out and about, so it would seem that people are actually taking the advice of state and local officials and staying at home. We've also seen fewer cars parked on streets here in Uptown, likely a result of people taking advantage of the city's free parking ramps. Minneapolis' snow emergency starts at 9 tonight, so cars can't be parked on snow emergency routes. As far as whether we'll see back-to-back snow emergencies, Public Works says it'll reevaluate that tomorrow after some snow totals are in. But because this is Minnesota, we did see a few avid runners out by Bede-Makaska. They too think it's been kind of a ghost town this afternoon.
A lot less people. Like I'm driving, I'm like, okay, this is kind of nice for me because I'm safe. Less people around, less people in the streets. Of course, they are. So it's great. We are taking precautions.
We did ask another runner who we saw what it would take for him not to be out in this tomorrow. He tells me if the plows are out, then he will be too, as long as he's able to get out of his house. So there you go, Tim and BC. I think that's Minnesota summed up for you.
I think a lot of us are going to have cabin fever after all of this is done. Thanks, Rose. Now is the perfect time, by the way, to download the Fox 9 weather app. We've got your latest forecast here from Ian, Jennifer, Alex, and the entire team, as well as updated road conditions and those school closings, too. This is free to download. Just search Fox 9 Weather in either the App Store or Google Play. And speaking of schools, boy, we had hundreds of districts that are either closed or moved to e-learning for today and tomorrow. And while some may think that e-learning is always a possibility now here in a post-COVID world when we're not holding classes in person, it's not always that easy. Minnetonka School Superintendent David Law joined us earlier this afternoon and explains what went into their decision to close school entirely today and then shift to e-learning for tomorrow.
We have shifted to e-learning starting tomorrow for our secondary students, and then after that for our elementary. It's really a matter of, for me personally, I have a belief that for our youngest learners, they need adults at home. And it's not the same experience as it is in school for sure.
Now, the superintendent also mentioned that he hopes to have set decision for school on Friday and making that decision by 5 o'clock tomorrow night.
Over in St. Paul, lawmakers at the state capitol decide to call it a snow day. The state legislature won't meet for the rest of the week due to this snowstorm. Both chambers passing resolutions yesterday calling a recess until Monday. But before things were called, the state Senate passing a bill allowing Minnesotans to receive driver's licenses regardless of their immigration status. The Senate passing the measure early this morning. The driver's licenses for all bill allows people to apply for a license regardless of their immigration status, reversing a 2003 state law. The bill will now head to Governor Walz's desk.
Well, Minneapolis police are investigating a deadly shooting from last night. According to investigators, a man and a woman were shot on the 2600 block of West Broadway Avenue. Both of them went to North Memorial in a personal vehicle. That woman died later that night, and the man has critical injuries. So far, police have arrested no one. Anyone with information is asked to call police. In national news tonight, former President Donald Trump adds his support to the residents of East Palestine, Ohio, nearly 3 weeks after that train derailment there.
Fox's Mike Tobin has the latest development on the town's recovery efforts.
Former President Donald Trump heads to the small town of East Palestine, Ohio, nearly 3 weeks after a train derailed, spilling toxic chemicals into the water and air. Trump, who is running in next year's presidential election, met with community members and local officials to get an update on cleanup efforts on the ground. As part of his visit, he also donated more than a dozen pallets of water and cleaning supplies. His visit comes just a day after the EPA took charge of long-term recovery efforts. Federal regulators ordering railway operator Norfolk Southern to clean up contaminated areas under the EPA guidelines and to foot the bill for the process. If they fail to comply, the EPA promised heavy fines.
We don't want to be political pawns. We don't want, we don't want to be a soundbite or a news bite. We just want to go back to living our lives.
While data continues to show water and air in East Palestine are safe, a clinic did open this week for residents who are concerned about their health. Some of the community are still complaining of sore throats and headaches. Major grocery store chain Giant Eagle also discontinued the sale of some bottled water coming from a facility near East Palestine out of an abundance of caution.
I do believe the tests that they are running, both in the air quality and in the water quality, are valid. I trust the science.
On Thursday afternoon, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg will visit the area and will get an update from the NTSB on the crash investigation. In East Palestine, Ohio, Mike Tobin, Fox 9.
On a day like today, it's really a great time to start thinking about spring.
Not soon enough, right? And spring football, too. The Gophers announced their day and plans for their annual spring football game. When you should circle that date in the calendar, it's coming up next.
Welcome back. Right now you're taking a live look at the roads there. I believe that is 494 in the St. Louis Park area, and you can see for the most part 2 lanes. You can see the pavement.
Well, at least 2 tire paths, right?
Right, yeah. People are taking it easy out there, heeding the advice to either stay home or just simply stay off the roads.
Yeah,
Thanks.
the biggest takeaway I had
so
from
much.
this video is how few cars there are on the road at this hour
Yeah,
tonight.
especially this time. It's typically a lot more vehicles out there.
A lot of people stayed home today.
Well, with the weather this week, it was the perfect time for the Gophers to announce details for this year's spring game. The game will be held at 11 in the morning on Saturday, April 22nd at Huntington Bank Stadium. 2 spring game traditions involving the fans will continue this year. Fans are encouraged to bring a decorated oar, which will be added inside the stadium. The team is also holding its annual diaper drive at the spring game. Gopher fans have donated more than 115,000 diapers in the last 6 years. Nothing wrong with thinking about a spring football game in the midst of winter.
Because we got to think of something right now, right?
Yeah, keep it positive.
Other than Jim Rich down at spring training,
Man,
but that's another story.
know.
Oh my goodness, he's the luckiest guy on the planet right now.
Green grass and
Yeah.
sunshine
Palm
and
trees.
sand.
Yeah,
Sounds dreamy.
us, not so much.
I mean, we have grass too. It's just
You can't
covered
see
up.
it,
A little bit covered right now.
It's just a little bit covered right now. Yeah, we're still tracking this winter storm that has been impacting us for at least the last 24 or so hours. So we still have the blizzard warning for areas along 94 into the south, into the west of 35, and along 35 to the south of the Twin Cities metro. Mankato, Hutchinson, Marshall, for example, in that blizzard warning until noon tomorrow. And this is where we are expecting the strongest winds to be occurring, up to 50 miles an hour, leading to blowing snow, drifting snow, along with low visibilities, making traveling dangerous at times. In fact, there are some highways in southwest Minnesota that are closed. No, not even no travels advised. It's just straight up closed. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you are going out and about, make sure your roads are open. Winter storm warning for those of you in the purple shade. That does include the Twin Cities metro. This is in place until noon as well. And the same thing, blowing and drifting snow is going to be the main concern with the poor visibility. And it's all due to these areas of lows down towards our south, spreading blanket of snow across locations from Colorado, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, all the way over into Michigan. Meanwhile, on the warm side of this storm system, that's where we had severe weather earlier today in locations like St. Louis, Missouri, and even into southern Illinois with tornado watches and warnings. But we are dealing with the cold side of this storm system with the snow, the ongoing bands of snow. So we are in round 2, and this is going to be staying with us overnight and into our Thursday morning. And some of these bands at times, as they drift by, will be light, and then sometimes they will be heavy bands of snow. So just on and off bands of snow overnight and into Thursday morning. So all of us currently dealing with the snow showers from Wilmer over towards Baldwin, up towards Pine City, Lakeville, Le Sueur, Redwood Falls, for example, all of us dealing with that snow. Now, in terms of the timing, we will continue to watch the blanket of snow slowly move up towards the north and east as we advance into our Thursday morning. Here's 4:30. Notice all of us underneath that blanket of snow. But as soon as around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, we'll begin to clear things out, but the winds will be staying strong. And again, that's going to lead to the poor travel impacts with the low visibility and the drifting of the blowing snow. In terms of snow totals, we already picked up 4.1 inches at the MSP airport. Areas like Chanhassen, for example, picked up 6.5 yesterday. So areas across the metro ranged from 4 up to 6+ inches of snow. And now we are expecting to add another 8 to 12 inches of snow tonight and into our Thursday morning. On top of that, the winds are howling in from the northeast, gusting up to 25 to 35 miles an hour, and at times are expected to be stronger than that, up to 40 to even 50 miles an hour. Overnight temperature of 18 degrees. Temperatures will be falling all day tomorrow. So as the snow pulls away, the cold settles in. 13 for a temperature by tomorrow afternoon. Strong winds stay with us. By tomorrow evening, a temperature of 6. Wind chills tomorrow will feel below 0 all day long. Here's your 7-day forecast. 23 tomorrow. By Friday, 11 for that daytime high temperature. We'll sit at around 23 overnight, with temperatures falling throughout the day. 11 by Friday, Saturday 10 for your daytime highs. So keeping things nice and chilly, but then at some warmer temperatures. So for now, just dealing with the snow overnight and into Thursday, coming to an end by Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, that wind is pretty strong.
It is. Ushering in the cold temperatures, too.
They're going to start dropping. Okay, thanks, Jennifer. Topping tonight's Business Watch, one of the most important office buildings in downtown Minneapolis is a lot emptier these days. Nick Halter of Axios Twin Cities says, according to new data, Target is down to about 7,100 workers at its downtown headquarters. That's compared to around 8,500 before the pandemic. Halter says Target has a pretty lenient work-from-home policy compared to many big Twin Cities businesses. Employers at Amazon keep pushing back against that company's return-to-work mandates. Reports claim that Amazon workers drafted a remote work petition saying the mandate, quote, runs contrary to the company's positions. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy announced last week that corporate employees will have to spend at least 3 days a week in the office beginning May 1st. Jassy says it's easier for employees to collaborate and invent together in person, but the petition claims a return to mostly in-person work could impact employees' work-life balance.
These big red boots look like something out of a cartoon show, and guess what? They're already sold out. They're real. They've collected mass hype over the past few days and sold out after just 7 minutes of going online. Now they can be found on marketplaces like eBay, being resold for nearly $1,000. You can find the plastic and rubber boots on people at New York Fashion Week, of course, and even celebrities are getting in on this trend. Yeah, it looks like something that like a cartoon character would wear.
I wonder how well they do in the snow.
Oh, good.
Right?
Probably a little bit slippery. Need a little bit of grip at the bottom.
Let's hope.
Well, after the break, we wrap up the show with another update on current conditions outside as the snow continues to fall across the metro.
Okay, we have several highways in western Minnesota that are closed tonight due to blowing and drifting snow. And this includes I-90 from Worthington to the South Dakota border. The road closures will remain in effect for the foreseeable future until the conditions there improve.
MnDOT is tracking all of this. They have road conditions on their website, and as you can see, right now it does not look good. Purple means travel not advised, and we're seeing that in southwestern Minnesota. The pink shows roads that are completely covered. That's in parts of the metro and the southeastern region. Stay safe out there if you have to head out, but stay home if you can. More snow is on the way as the evening progresses. And before we go tonight, we do want to bring in meteorologist Jennifer McDermott for one last check of the forecast.
And it's because, Jennifer, a lot is going to change now in the next couple of hours, right? It's going to get more intense.
Right, yes. Overnight, the bands of snow will be intense, and then it will be light, and then intense, and back and forth. So that's why this blizzard warning and the winter storm warning are still in place until noon tomorrow. And you can see the snow continuing to build in far southwest Minnesota, and it's all drifting up towards the north and east into the direction of the Twin Cities. So we will continue to be tracking snow showers overnight and throughout our Thursday morning. Tim, BC.
All right, sounds good. And we invite you to switch over to Fox 9 Plus because we're all going to have more team coverage of your storm coming up in just a couple of moments.
Thanks so much for joining us.